so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Greenwich Planning and Zoning Commission meeting being held virtually on Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. We are now opening the public hearing. And in the public hearing, our first application for which Mr. McRae will be recused and Jenkins will be seated for him. And by the way,
Cancellations, postponements.
Well, yes, you're right. And I forgot that I was skipping by the one that is postponed. 97 Havemeyer Place, LLC for a final subdivision at 97 and 0 Havemeyer Place has been postponed, and that's in the R6 zone. All right, so Mr. McRae is recusing. We're going back to the top of the order of the alternates because everybody got seated, even though you did not vote last time. So we're starting over, and it's Jenkins for McRae. This is, hello, Mr. O'Donnell. This is SF 1919A LLC for a final site plan, sorry, not coastal by far and away. Final site plan and special permit to construct a new pool house, detached garage, and a drive with associated site improvements where the total volume of all the structures will further exceed 150,000 cubic feet on a 9.385 acre property located at 9 Sabine Farm Road in the RA2 zone. And with that, Mr. O'Donnell, if you would kindly proceed.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. For the record, on behalf of the applicant, Casey O'Donnell, I observed the briefing, and so I think I know what the concerns are, and I will attempt to briefly address them. I just want to, if you would,
Mr. O'Donnell, I know you sent in the material we were asking about. I have not been able to go through it. You sent it in what you sent in this morning, I haven't had a chance to look at. So if you want to discuss that with us, I assume you do not have, I haven't seen anything from the health department yet.
Correct.
Okay, you're going to, and you heard, and you heard what we said about that. So, but if you would fill us in on the progression, it would help us when you're ready with the health department. So if you want, go ahead.
Absolutely. And I have some materials that I can share on screen if that's possible. And
Patrick, are you going to trust Mr. O'Donnell?
Trust is a big word, but I will let him co-host.
That's in all cases compliment to me. Let me share my PDF here. If you allow, I'd also love to just show you. I feel privileged to get to work on some of these projects.
Oh, it's a beautiful property. Oh yeah, it's a beautiful property. I know it is gorgeous.
Here's our 1934 aerial.
Yeah.
The original massing of the house. Look at this beautiful, and while the coverage is a bit painful, we have 800 linear feet to get from the street back behind the house to a parking court. And look at how this applicant, which I am grateful to, has preserved the original massing of the house and the original overall site plan. Okay, you've been gracious. I am going to share now the materials I promised. Okay. Oh, hang on. I'm just fighting a little bit with this. All right. So just starting with, this was the original proposed, site plan.
Okay.
That came to you in 2019.
Well, stop jumping it around like that. You're going to make us sick. Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay, so we can see again, we just looked at this long driveway, the original massing of the house we saw in that 1934 aerial, and then some substantial additions here, which would have a little more than doubled the size of the original 11,000 square foot structure. Those additions to the northwest, and then down at the southwest side of the house. They had planned a parking court in addition to a detached garage at the time. However, they had not finalized architecture in 2019. And so they ultimately showed what was an anticipated garage footprint as a parking area. And that also allowed them to do all the drainage design and implementation at the same time, knowing that there wouldn't be a substantial increase in impervious areas after they design their garage. So some thoughtful approach to design and phasing. This approved, and then in 2020, during the COVID era, they ultimately reduced the scope of the additions to the house. So I've outlined those areas in red. What you have before you is the approved site plan from this 2020, which, because it was a reduction, and I think in the very reasonable discretion of staff, they signed off on this without it going back in front of this commission. So we have this reduction in floor area for the main house. And then these patios that were initially anticipated were not shown on this site plan. And so what the result here was about a 6,000 square foot reduction in the square footage of the home. And again, still we have a proposed parking area where the proposed garage. From a cubic volume perspective, if we had 6,000 square feet and it were 20 or 30 feet high, it would be 40 to 60,000 cubic feet. So we can kind of see how the cubic volume in 2020 would have changed. Going forward to the application that I'm privileged to present, I've indicated on this map in gray all of the areas of additional impervious coverage from your last approval. In green, I've indicated where impervious areas are being removed or reduced, so we can see they reduced.
Okay, wait, say that again. Green, give us the color codes again. I missed the gray, is the hatched gray.
Hatched gray is new impervious
Got it.
hardscape.
Green
Hatched
is removal.
removal
And
of
yellow.
yellow is new work that's proposed as a part of this
Gotcha.
application.
Got it.
And so we have pergolas that are going to be constructed on either side of the west, which is the rear of the house.
Gotcha.
We have, rather than the patios that they had largely proposed over here, a little more thoughtful design where we have raised gardens with sidewalks surrounding them. We have elimination of the south pool in lieu of a pool to be constructed at the north side and a proposed pool house. And then in addition, we finally have our garage design. The garage will shield proposed mechanical equipment, including generators, a utility shed, and an existing transformer. The lion's share of the work occurred with this commission in 2019. And what we're really looking at here is we have something that's well over 400,000 cubic feet, and we're going to add this detached garage and pool house. In this application, the net result is a reduction in floor area from the last time this commission looked at this, in addition to a reduction or an increase in green area. So looking at our
bigger.
Everything, oh yes.
Okay, just so everybody can see it. Okay.
Okay. So again, existing conditions when the applicant came to see you in 2019, ultimately was about 28,000 square feet of coverage. So the green area was 0.93. And then what the commission approved, we can see the residents nearly doubled. So that's a lot of consumption of the proposed green area. Substantial increase into the driveway in the parking area. We discussed the challenges here with having preserving the original site design, the original driveway we've seen back to 1934, and the site layout, which is going to require this 800-foot traveled way before we can get a car to an appropriate parking area. So that resulted still in a 14% surplus in green area, or another 46,000 square feet that under the bulk regulations could be covered. So relatively modest, but I recognize this is a large property. And then finally, to the application you're beginning to consider tonight, which is a result of 16% in the surplus of green area for a total green area of 90%, where 0.78 would be required. So again, we're still tailing back from the 2019 application, and we can see that the gross coverage on the site from pre-application in 2019 at about 28,000, now to 39,000. So from from your first impression of this property, the increase in green area of about 11,000 square feet.
But the square footage of the structures, residence plus accessory on the, and et cetera, is still about the same because you're at tum-ti-tum, although you dropped the residence from 16 to 12, your accessory structures are adding 5,000 squares. So you're basically still at 18 after you put in the pool house and everything. Right?
Correct.
So your structures themselves are not reducing. What you have cut back on is your site coverage. So,
Correct.
okay.
And I
some-
have,
From 0.89, what was that? Go back a second, because that's really a handy chart. Okay, so here you've gone from 0.93, 0.89, and 0.90. So you're now at 0.90. So even your green area is slightly higher. Okay. But your basic structures are, I missed the water feature in the plans. Oh, I remember now what the water feature discussion was when we saw it the last time. Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. O'Donnell. And
okay.
I'm sorry, does anybody else on the commission, I jumped in, does anybody else have comments?
Is most of that discrepancy you mentioned because they're replacing the parking area they reserved in the back with a parking garage? Is that why the structures have increased so much, but the total is still lower?
That's correct. You had 6,000 square feet of 2.5 story and a very substantial method of construction, and that's getting replaced with just single story, sort of lower roof line complementary structures.
Okay. Anything else, folks?
Uh,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
actually, I had,
know. Go ahead.
so the current pool is going to be demolished, and do you know what the plans are for that and for, I guess, this area that has the pond next to it, what that is?
That's proposed to, so we're, I'm sorry, to clarify, the current pool is kind of it will ultimately end up as a sort of walled garden. And then to the east of the current pool is a man-made pond that we saw has existed for a long time. There's no proposed changes to the man-made pond. And again, that southern pool that's going to be demolished will remain as sort of a walled garden. So green space, the patio areas around the pool are proposed to be removed.
Okay, and also one other further question is, so there is no geothermal in this plan?
I have not had a
There
chance
currently-
to.
Okay,
I heard your comments regarding the geo and the overall comments in regard to the EMAC, which I would summarize as to better understand what the geo plans are for this property, number one. And number two is to take a second look. Even though these structures are ultimately not going to be substantial energy drivers, there's not going to be a lot of heat in a pool house. It's primarily seasonal. And then the garage, they're kept typically at a minimum temperature. There's no living spaces around or near. It's still reasonable to look to see if we can maximize their efficiency. So on those two issues, on how the property is going to be used with geo and whether or not we can create a more efficient set of outbuildings, I have not been able to resolve, but I will work and return something to EMAC and this commission in writing prior to our next meeting.
thank you.
Arn, do you want to add while we're on the geo and the EMAC issues? Do you want to jump in on that and the SEER?
Nothing to add. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so you're going to come back on that, Mr. O'Donnell,
Correct.
right? Okay, because that was confusing. You heard everybody yesterday. We were seeing it on some plans and not on others. Okay, if you would go ahead.
My personal experience with geo is it's a lot of testing. There's a lot of test holes and a lot of drilling before you know if it's actually viable. And so I'm guessing that's what we're looking at, but I'm going to wait to speak to the project manager before I comment. As it relates to health, thank you for being patient. I recognize we're not going to have relevant health comments tonight. What's proposed is the centralized system, which will utilize the existing septic system for the house, which is oversized, to accommodate the pool house, which has no additional sleeping rooms in it. That requires both local review and state approval. So that process is in, and we're optimistic it'll be returned either before the next time we meet or staff can convey after the next time we meet. We know that's outstanding. In addition, when I reviewed the 2019 approval, this commission reasonably let staff resolve issues around landscaping. So I've talked to staff and I reviewed the notes last time, which were asking for, I think, more coniferous trees and this holistic sort of approach to landscaping. So we've had that plan, it's been submitted, and we'll work with conservation to make sure that they're satisfied, in addition to making sure that the plan meets the plans that are filed in inland wetlands for the upland review area.
So, yeah, what that comment that they've got is, so I meant to ask yesterday, it says the applicant plan to resubmit a site-wide landscape plan that is more detailed. So that's where you're going. You're going to resubmit that with more details, with the awareness that they always want native, deciduous, deep-rooted, conifer, non-arborvitae, et cetera.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't think I have an arborvitae on this plan. And I think even the plan that I submitted yesterday, I probably will ask for a couple changes, but before I return to our amazing landscape architect, I wanted the opportunity to hear conservation's perspective.
Absolutely. It's funny on this because when you showed the aerial of in the 30s, the map of Greenwich that's outside Patrick's office, the aerial from the late 1920s, there were very few trees in Greenwich. And our canopy cover, if you could go back to then, has increased. The problem is that we got to a maximum at one point, and now we've been declining. But there was a time coming out of the farmland when we had very little canopy. And it was interesting to see that 30s aerial that looks a lot like Pat's. Okay, so that IWWA has advised that they're okay with your revisions and that the existing permit applies. You're going to work on the EMAC, and we're waiting to hear from health. I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have other comments? Okay, how much, the only thing that given the second question we had yesterday, because none of us went up there, how much of this has been done pursuant to the approvals? I mean, it's obviously you've been under construction, right?
Yes, correct. And there was some changes in planning and phasing, but ultimately the house, I think, is 90 to 95% complete. We're working, or SE Minor is working on the as-built to resolve the house, and I've been giving some advice on getting a CO there. So very close.
So your as-built is closer. The as-built is aligns with what we have in the 25 submission right now.
That's
the other thing that was confusing us, is where are you on the as-built?
Right. So I have this experience, not on this job, but on many jobs where I'm working through a phase development plan. The surveyors can't call it done until it's done and they've surveyed it and they verified it. So they keep having to call these things proposed, even though to us, from an approval perspective, we're looking at it differently. So having walked the site and been on the site, I would say it's 90% stabilized. The hardscape in the garage area are still as probably they were closer to 2019 than what's proposed. So they won't start making those hardscape changes in the driveway and parking area around the garage until they have this commission say so. There is a set of stairs and a retaining wall for that garden in the back I've already observed. So we hope that you'll look favorably on that. But we're getting close to phase one being complete. That I think could be maybe within 6 months.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the commission? All righty. Okay, so we'll see you. We'll continue this application and we'll see you when you come back.
Madam Chair,
Thank you
did you
very
ask-
much.
sorry, did you ask for public comment, Madam Chair?
Oh, no, I forgot. All right. Is there any public comment on this application? Again, this is 9 Sabine Farm Road. 9 Sabine Farm Road. Is there any comment on it? Oh, good, I lucked out. No public comment. Okay, great. It's good when you forget. All right, now, thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. It's good I have people to keep me awake. All right, our next application is Mr. Fisher, correct? I know I saw you, Mr. Fisher, and I can't find you.
Correct. He's here,
He's here. Ah, okay,
or coming, I should say, in.
coming. Okay. All right, so hello, Nick. So it's the right, it's on this application, we have Albin, Jenkins for Macri, Lowe, Yeski, and Jones for Wells. So this application is HRG Hotel Owner LLC, Trinity GP Fund 1 GP LLC, for a zoning text amendment to amend the definition sections of the town zoning regulations to allow a theater use as an incidental use within a hotel. A complete copy of the amendment is available to the public. And please note that this theater will be limited to 40 seats. There was confusion in the emails we received from the public. Some of you had seen a restaurant that was going to 150 or our regulation that was 150 and had thought that the hotel is proposing 150, but it is not, it is 40. So please note if you're listening and you wanted to comment that it is only 40 seats. Mr. Fisher, if you would go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission, Attorney Chris Fisher with the firm of Cuddy and Fader. I did have an opportunity to listen in on the comments yesterday. And if you'll recall, we were here before you earlier in the month in February on the initial hearing, talked about the language and the zoning enforcement officer's suggestions. And as I understand it, that's been noticed again with that specific language. The intent, as you just mentioned, is to make a small amendment to the language in the existing code to permit internal to a hotel no more than a 40-seat fixed theater. As was discussed at the commission's meeting, in this particular zone, the GB zone, hotels and theaters are actually permitted uses in this particular instance because the town has a regulation that requires a minimum of 150 seats. We would not be able to conform to that unless we were building a much larger theater. The intention is really something else. It's more akin to a screening room that has public use and capability for public viewing. And in that case, which we talked about at the first hearing, it requires a distribution agreement in order to be able to do first run movies. So in this case, we did get to the commission slightly unconventionally. This particular application, which we've been involved in since the time that the issue of the zoning and the text amendment came to light, it is part of an ongoing investment by the new owners. Ownership changed in 2022. There's been an active renovation of the interior of the building. And as was mentioned, when these plans came in, certainly it's been built to plan, but there was no mention on the plan that this is somehow a public theater, and the zoning question really was never raised. So we're coming back to address that and have been working with your planning department and you to come up with language that meets your intention, our intention. And I think in this case, what we found, beyond just what are the existing zoning parameters and where the limitations exist, that your plan of conservation and development actually supports movie theater, and that in this particular instance, we're in a zone where that very much would be consistent with the plan of conservation and development. So we felt that the
So
zoning
just for the record, Mr. Fisher, so because we should put this in the record anyway, objective 1.2F of the 2019 POCD says update the building zone regulations to promote space for live and film theater experiences, which is what is in their application. In addition, our overall guiding principles say maintain economic vitality and thriving commercial centers, as well as provide the best quality infrastructure municipal facilities and cultural institutions, which you could stretch to say that if you have movies that are available for people, that's a cultural experience. I think it's a bit of a stretch, but I went there anyway. Go ahead, Mr. Fisher.
No, thank you. And I think for us, it really is, it is a function of, a mixed use concept here and trying to make it available to the public. That is part of the economic viability of this type of small fixed theater seat location internal to a hotel. But at the end of the day, we look at it from a zoning point of view and a planning point of view as very consistent with this particular district. And we did talk about some of the other potential precedential issues, if any, if you will, with other hotels. And I think the language as presented doesn't create potential impacts for the commission on how to regulate some of those non-conforming hotels, which would have higher levels and thresholds of discretionary review versus change of use permits and site plan and looking at your more traditional issues on a site plan application. So we felt that the amendment was appropriate to present, and we're certainly looking for your feedback and favorable action.
Any comments or questions from the commission? Mr. McRae? Unmute before I can.
I would say that actually a lot of what the gentleman just said, I don't believe. Specifically, I'm looking at the certificate of occupancy that was issued in June of last year. The description of work says update existing auditorium, classroom, meeting space. Doesn't say anything about a movie theater. New finishes, AV system, and seating. No changes in use. No change in egress. So I'm very conflicted and uncomfortable with this application. One thing I would like to add is that if the commission chooses to move on this, that a condition be added that actually all conditions of previous site plan approvals are upheld.
Thank you. That would be for the site plan when we get this. We're still on the zoning. Okay.
Yep.
And then nobody else had any comments? All right. Anybody from the public? I woke up. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this application? This is to change our zoning regulations so that we allow a movie theater as an incidental use in a hotel, movie theater not to exceed 40 seats. Any public comment? And
See one hand up, Madam Chair.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it. Okay. And the person's coming in. Hello, would you please give us and spell your first and last name?
Hello, this
because
is Harold Stillman. I'll be joining later again.
Okay.
But I
hello,
thought I
Mr.
would comment
Stillman.
on this. In Greenwich, we've lost all the movie theaters over time, and that's not a good thing. I've also visited the hotel and was really surprised to see that there was a kind of a movie experience that was being offered. My only comment is that that was a very creative and good idea. So I support the application. It was my wife and I both said, wow, how clever.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Stillman.
You're welcome.
When we get to the site plan, we have some comments from the public. I don't know if you saw them, Mr. Fisher, that we'll talk about. Okay, question for you, Mr. LaRoe. We can't act on the next item in the regular meeting unless we move on this one.
Yeah,
What
I guess,
sequence would we do that in?
so I would recommend closing this if the commission is done with their deliberation, and then we'll go into the site plan, and then if we choose to vote,
We could vote on both together
right, as we typically
Okay.
do outside of
if
the.
we choose to
like-
move it forward or whatever.
Yep.
If we choose, okey doke. All right, so since nobody on the commission had any further comments, does anybody object to closing this application at this time?
No.
Seeing no objection, this application is hereby closed. Mr. Basili, you're getting the rest of the night off.
Oh, wow.
So that ends the public hearing of, now just remember, this is a really nice thing that's happening right now, but don't count on us.
Well, I'm getting used to it. Thank you.
No, don't get used to it. All right. That
Thanks.
ends the public hearing for tonight of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And with that, we open the regular meeting. Our first application in the regular meeting is number 4, HRG Hotel Owner. It's not a catchy name, Mr. Fisher. HRG Hotel Owner LLC, care of Trinity GP Fund 1 GP LLC, for a final site plan to seek approval to convert an existing conference space into a 40-seat theater as an accessory and incidental use to the operating hotel. This is at 1800 East Putnam Avenue, known to us as the Hyatt. And seated on this item are Albin Jenkins for McRae, Lowe, Yeski, and Jones for Wells. And with that, Mr. Fisher, if you would proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attorney Fisher again on behalf of the applicant, Hyatt Regency. I did have an opportunity, as I mentioned, to listen to the comments, and I thought what would be helpful and what was requested was a little bit more operational information related to the hotel event space. And
when you do that, can I ask you, could you give us the rationale while you're at it for the event at 550 being the trigger for the parking set aside? Because
Absolutely.
I didn't, it seemed like a number pulled out of the air. So if you would give us the rationale. Go ahead, sir.
Sure, absolutely. So let me start off with some context. We talked a little bit about the adjacent property at 1700, the office building, and the ability to use that parking space. I just wanted to get some clarity for the commission. What our existing understanding and relationship with the office building owner is that on the weekends, we have entire use of the lot. And I don't have a parking space count total for the adjacent office building, but it's in the neighborhood of 500 plus spaces there. So when we're dealing with a weekend event, we have really sufficient on-site and immediately adjacent site parking for purposes of events.
Totaling?
We have 551 on-site, and so I'm thinking we're up over 1,000 by the time we include the office space.
Okay. So you think you have another 400 and change, 450, whatever, of with the office. Okay. I didn't realize it was that extensive.
And then on the weekday evenings, we have access to the adjacent office building space, and that is up to 100 spaces, and that's by agreement. There's some flexibility there, but generally that's consistent with their understanding of their operational use and wanting to reserve spaces for obviously the office occupancies. So we do have some access during the weekday evenings as well.
Okay.
We talked a little bit at the last site plan hearing that over the years, certainly as compared to pre-COVID, the overall number of larger event galas where we're having larger numbers of attendees have gone down. You asked for some data on that. Last year, 13 events of that nature where, and I don't have a threshold number, but where the folks at the hotel are saying, we've really got to focus on parking management and make sure that we're in good shape for our own event space and making sure that the attendees are well cared for in that regard. This year, for 2026, they have bookings of that nature around 15. So, I was doing rough math, but it's 1.25 a month on average. Could be more, could be less, but it's in that neighborhood. Certainly nothing approaching 2 events per month on these larger galas where you have those kinds of attendees.
And how many people come?
And that's
Breast
part
Cancer
of the,
Alliance still with you, right? That's one of the bigger ones. How many do you get?
yeah, Jake Lynch
Junior
is
League?
on. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Jake Lynch is on the call. If you could promote him, he probably has the exact numbers or closer to them.
Stevens.
I'm bringing it
Yes.
in right now. Yep.
Oh, now we're probably, okay, you do it because, yeah. Sometimes when we both do it, it doesn't work. Okay. All right, Mr. Lynch.
Hi there,
Hello.
nice to see you all again. So the Breast Cancer Alliance actually returned last year. They hadn't been with the hotel since pre-COVID. We had made a donation to try to get them back as kind of a really important civic organization within the local area. I believe that at last count, the total attendees for that were certainly north of 500. I believe it was in the 600 to 800 range. While we're on here, I'm going to try to get the final number. But
Okay.
it was a large number. that took place at at a luncheon style midweek. And we obtained parking offsite and were able to bus attendees to the event.
Yeah, United Way is also there.
United Way. I don't know offhand, but I will confirm.
Okay.
The library has something coming
The
up.
library, Neighbor to Neighbor. Junior League's not going there anymore for their gala. Who are your larger events? And I'm trying to think of who, when we read about them in the paper, we know which ones tend to be bigger, but from what I remember, the breast cancer luncheon is one of the most attended.
Yes. And to be candid, I don't have a list of all of the galas that take place at the hotel. It's Trinity. We're the ownership group, right? So there's a separate group that manages the hotel and is responsible for booking the galas. However, we can certainly provide you with a list of the 15 galas that we have booked for this year, if helpful.
And I did ask, just for a break, to give a further breakdown, I asked for some more information on that. And for the bookings they do have this year, 6, they really don't anticipate with the numbers needing overflow or even offsite parking. 4 are weekday lunches where they would expect some offsite parking and have to arrange for that. As it relates to the movie theater, which we will get to, we do not have any weekday showings before 5, so there's no real conflict for those weekday events. And then they have 5 that are weekend events where they would anticipate sufficient on-site capacity with both the hotel spaces and the office spaces to be able to accommodate parking and not have to do any kind of off-site. So it's really more the weekday event that triggers the off-site need for shuttle busing and kind of a parking arrangement to manage the attendee.
Now I know to always come early. Hate those things.
It's a great venue, but I've been there many times and I understand and agree.
I just don't like the little bus. Okay. Mary, do you have a question?
Yes, in terms of the arrangement with the adjacent property, is that adjacent property fully utilized, or is it in any way vacant? Because I know it was vacant for a while.
It's certainly operational. Whether they have a few vacant spaces, I would imagine that they do. However, my sense is that it's quite high occupancy. It would just be kind of normal turnover. It's fully operational.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Anything else?
Just a few more comments in response to what we heard yesterday.
Yeah, and just don't forget to come back to how you got to that 550, because I'm getting the size of the events. We got our math whizzes here ready to go on the 550. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came up with the 550 in consultation with the ownership and the hotel group, mostly because there's 551 on-site spaces. I was just going with a round number, 550, and saying, look, if we're going to have an event where there's more than one space per attendee, and yes, it's a mixed use and we have the hotel, we're definitely going to have a parking issue at some level. And that goes back to what you were looking for related to some preference and prioritization of parking for attendees to the movie theater. And that's really where we, I think as a hotel group, are looking at and saying, we know we have a parking management implementation for that event. We're going to have valets, and we typically have as I think folks have experienced as you come in, the valets asking questions. If you're a patron of the hotel, the restaurant, and now the theater, we're going to move you to the front lot, which is with some of the additional spaces in the front, 82 spaces. And so our thinking was, if we're going to have a magnitude event where there may be conflicts for parking and we need some prioritization, that would be a number that we used. And that was the basis for it. And the 8 spaces reservation, which is a conversation with you as a commission on how to manage this. The 8 spaces was more a reflection that the attendance that we're seeing at the movie theater is about 40%. And if 16 spaces are required for the 40-seat theater under your regulations, we're using half, which is just, that was how we came to it and saying, look, that's 8 spaces. And this really comes more to flexibility. We want to be able to address the request that we have prioritization in spaces, but we were thinking, do we need to, kind of, these won't be marked spaces. So do we want to have 16 spaces there ready and available for patrons for the 5 or 6 events where we're thinking we're going to really have a parking issue, and not necessarily make those available to anyone else because we've got them cordoned off during a movie event. So it was just a management question and what's the right number. I think the commission knows we're going to have to actively manage this through the valet process. Otherwise it won't be effective, but you've got to find a way to get us to make sure it's in our management plan for traffic for these events.
Well, there's where the guy stands, when you come in down the long driveway and you bump into the first valet, not that I've been at any events at the Hyatt, where you bump into the first valet, but that would be where somebody says, oh, what are you doing? And so for those 10 people, they would say, well, we're going to the movie, and you would direct them to the parking, because you direct everybody at the end of that driveway, right by that little guardhouse, you're directing everybody anyway. So,
That's right.
So it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to just have people turn into an area that is roped off, because then you have 2 more valets usually further down who direct. And Noel, you've been, and anybody who's been, Dennis, all of you guys, you've all been there. So it seems like it would be pretty workable. I wondered if we should take that designation to 10. Jake has his, Mr. Lynch, I'm sorry, you have your hand up.
No, just to jump in and offer, I just want to make sure everyone's aware. So the guardhouse, where the gate is, it's an automated gate at this point.
But there's there's a person who's standing somewhere past that, usually when you drive into an event.
For an event, yeah, I'd imagine that
Right.
we would
My last one was a while ago. I went to the B1C breakfast, and there's somebody there and they direct you. Oh, why would I say that? The last time I went was when we were at the movie, we were going to the movies, and you were, yeah. So,
Yes.
And you get directed. So I would think that at that moment, when you meet the first person, they could say, the problem is that they're flagging everybody. You could tell people who buy a movie ticket that, hey, if there's designated parking for the movie theater, if it's, you could just tell them, and then they could wave and say movies.
Right. Yeah. What we were going to potentially suggest is just to have a sign as guests are driving in and passing the porte cochere where you pull in for valet, to say, monoplex parking or movie parking or something like that you could put out during events, so that they could just be greeted by a valet and shown, or valeted, complimentary to their parking space in the front.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. Mr. Yeski.
Yeah, let's back up for a second.
Okay.
The fellow that was just talking, is it Mr. Fisher or?
Yes, Mr. Fisher is the attorney representing, and Mr.
The owner,
Lynch.
the owner.
Guy
from Trinity.
Yes, I represent Trinity Investments, which is the ownership group of the hotel, along with Sir Taras, our 2 groups on the hotel.
Okay, I'm just a little confused. I go to the hotel all the time. When you go to the movie, the valet you're talking about is inside the porte-cochere. It's inside the building that you turn right on and go on. That's where you're going to put the valet, or is it go around the building and there's a guardhouse around the building? Where are you putting the valet?
Well, valet is done in the porte cochere
Right.
before you make the turn and you go through the gate to get to the back parking lot. What I'm suggesting is that during events only, we could put a sign and offer, monoplex or movie guests to, utilize the valet.
All right, so when they come in, and if you're a movie guest, you're going to hang a right and go underneath there. But there's going to be a sign that says, if you're going to the movie, turn here. And then the valet is going to park your car in the front of the hotel or in the back?
Front of the hotel.
So that guest space across, which is now used by hotel guests, right? So I guess you figured out how to do that. So I just was confused where that valet was going to be. So you're going to treat the movie people very well. You're going to say, turn here, we're going to put your valet, and the car is going to be parked right in front of the hotel. Are you going to charge for that valet, by the way?
No, I mean, we don't charge
charge
movie
for
guests
this, okay.
today for South Park. We wouldn't charge for this. You know, we're talking about, you know, to Chris's point, a handful of times per year that we would do this. And it would really just to accommodate the operation of the movie theater during a big event.
I have to quit tipping him then, I guess, when he takes my car right now. I know all those guys. Those guys date back for the hotel. They've been there forever. So
You know, we probably shouldn't tell everybody all our secrets.
yes, no, we shouldn't.
Okay, so you did this calculation of the 550. Go ahead.
The 550 was just based on the 551 spaces that are available on site, no
Mhm.
overflow or otherwise. So, you know, as I was thinking from our last conversation, the concern was we have a big event. We know we're going to be parked significantly, and trying to create that preference, that prioritization for the moviegoer, so that they're not really kind of stuck walking out in the back of the lot, and they're able to, as Jake was saying, get some prioritization at the front of the building to make it easy for them for the movie going. Because when we were last chatting, I think it was the concern over conflicts and making it so that, you know, it really was accessible to the movie patron and that they weren't kind of caught up in the event that was going on, which typically is accessing from the rear of the property.
Except you need 374 spaces for the rooms. You have 374 rooms, so that's why you can't just say, oh, we have 550 spaces and then we have an event, because in theory, you're running at, your goal would be something like 80% occupancy in a hotel, right? That would be a good number. So you need a lot of those spaces that you've got, and our requirement is 1 per, right? So you do need that. And then you have the restaurant, which is the 65 spaces. So just adding it up, it seems like you might want a more conservative number on your event total. And Nolan, then Dennis.
So actually, my question had to do with, is there an event size that you can handle in that space, but that essentially would be too large to run the movie theater? That would, you know, that might be happening at the same time.
Jake, do you have a sense of that?
What we said on the last call is that if we have a full buyout of the hotel, that we would close the movie theater, or if there is, you know, really arduous security to go to one of these events, that we would close the movie theater. So those would be the conditions. I think that we would, you know, close the movie theater. Other times, like for example, you know, if we had let's say a 1,000-person gala in the evening, but there wasn't, you know, arduous security to get in, we would be able to accommodate all of those different attendees through, you know, some parking solutions, right? For example, with the breast cancer awareness event, which is one of our largest last year, we used offsite parking and then bused attendees to the facility. So we haven't ever had a situation, to my knowledge, in the recent history where we haven't been able to accommodate an event, you know, and kind of all parking uses with our existing space, plus the you know, solutions that we've used for overflow, including the adjacent office building and, you know, other offsite parking arrangements.
And a follow-up question: how many valet spaces do you have that you use that are on site, that are dedicated for your valet? Like the ones that, I mean, I haven't been there in a while.
It's at the front of the building. My colleague
Right.
Brittany Lewin is on, and she might have the exact number if we can promote Brittany Lewin.
And the hotel guests are prioritized for that, or
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So whenever the team is planning these galas, they always prioritize to ensure that we have enough parking for hotel guests.
Okay.
We can't, Brittany, it looks like you're speaking, but we can't hear you, even though it doesn't look like you're not muted. Maybe you can you text Jake the answers?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're good now.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay, I think this should work.
Yes.
82 spaces at the front of the building, which includes that small strip in front of the hotel, and then that front lot. And so I don't believe there's a specific, it might be 50, but I don't know if there's a specific number allocated for valet. But as Jake said, during these large events, we would like to use that front lot for both valet and movie theater parking. So that would be kind of sectioned off.
Okay. And no,
I think I'm done for now.
Mr. Yeski?
Yeah, this is like a Venn diagram. Okay, let me see if I can understand this. When the hotel's operating, you need 439 spaces, just normal operation, right? Is that right?
How are you getting to that number?
374 and the 65.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I think it's there's zoning compliance, and those numbers are zoning compliance numbers, and then there's the functional use because it's kind of a mixed use site. So really where we're getting to the point where we have a parking issue is these big events, which comes
Right.
back to
Oh, we
the
know that.
frequency, and the frequency being, the 5-6 times a year on the weekends.
And that's
Really.
exactly where I was going. So we don't have a problem normally. You then have a major event, and it sounds like you got 15 planned, right? And of those 15, the number of additional spaces you're going to need is, I got X, the 439 is Y. What's going to be the number that you're going to need for those 15 events? And by the way, I also understand you don't, in the evening, there's one number, but it's the same. Well, there are two different numbers, one during the day and one during the evening, because in the evening you have access to the building next door, right? So it's going to be less of an issue. So whatever the number is, it depends on the time of the day. So there's two numbers there that I'm trying to understand. The events during the day and the events in the evening. The events in the evening we're hoping is not an issue. The event during the day has got to be an issue. So we're after those two. The biggest one you have is this Breast Cancer Alliance, which you said was...
But that was luncheon during the day. At night, I don't know what their biggest nighttime gala is. Do you, Mr. Lynch?
Brittany would be closest to that, but it would be, we could get back to you with a response. I think.
No,
yeah.
I mean, because we're trying not to drag this on. So we're just guessing. I think you have events that go to 1,000 people at night.
It would be foreseeable that we could, right?
Yeah.
So, whether or not we do or this year currently, I'm sure that we will have galas which will go up to 800 to 1,000 people. Yes.
But at night, that's not an issue, right? Because you got the parking next door.
You got
Correct.
all the office parking.
So let's assume for a second we're not concerned about that. We're concerned about the daytime where you still need the hotel, the restaurant, and some number for a daytime event, which sounds like it could be significant. And you have 100, I think I heard you had 100 space. No. Do you have any access to the parking next door during the day?
Not during the week.
Not during the week, during the day. And I think what we were, and coming back to the kind of coterminous of some of these, is, and we don't have movies going on during the weekday. So really when we did the analysis from a parking demand issue, of the 15 we've got planned for 2026, 6 we don't even anticipate an overflow or offsite parking issue at all. 4 are weekday where we don't have movies. 5 are weekend where we have the adjacent office building lot, and we need to kind of have some management plan in place to deal with prioritization for moviegoers, which was the real request I think was being made of us.
So am I correct in saying the only time you got a parking problem, regardless of it's not the movie theater that's triggering it, it's a daytime event that's triggering because you don't have access next door, right? And you have to go off-site.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Correct. And there's always a parking, like this is always arranged anytime, the sales team books any of these events, parking is a major consideration. So they arrange offsite parking when they book these events.
Yes.
This is
And
really
in practice, the guests who are staying at the hotel through the week are typically not there during the daytime unless they are there as part of a group, which are not drive-in groups typically, right? They're people that are there for a corporate event who are from elsewhere and are taking Ubers from the airport. So the reality is, in the daytime, we don't have a challenge with hotel guest parking. The only time that there would be need for overflow would be if you have an event on a weekend day when you have more of a leisure customer there who's driven in.
And how many events, I think we've been going at is, how many times does that occur? How often do you have a daytime event, large, and you're going to exceed your existing parking and you're going to have to go off-site? You know, this is like, it's not the movie theater that's triggering this. It's just large events. So are there events that are going to trigger a parking off-site during the day? Has nothing to do with the movie theater because you're not going to show movies during the day. I get it. That's what was, there's all these moving pieces. It's like a big Venn diagram. They overlap, and the only overlap is, do we have a parking problem today with a special event during the day, regardless of the movie? Because it sounds like you've organized the movies so that they don't occur at a time where you have a parking issue. And now you're going to give them reserved parking and a valet, which is great. But it's like no good deed goes unpunished. Do we have a parking problem just on a normal large event basis that you need? And how many times a year is that?
There's four per year.
Yeah.
Four.
Four.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So it's not a movie theater triggering this parking problem. It's the large events 4 times a year.
Where we use overflow parking, right? Like, for example, the
Offsite.
PCA, where we bus the attendees from an overflow parking lot to the hotel. Yes.
Yeah, what was messing me up is I was trying to figure out why the movie theater was causing the problem.
No,
And it's not.
no, we're just trying to accommodate the movie theater. But, all being said, we haven't really had complaints from anybody about the movie theater during events, except for a certain person who complained about the security related, but we won't go into that. Patrick, and then, are you done, Mr. Yeski?
I am. I've got it clarified in my mind, right? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Patrick, and then Mr. Wells.
Mr. Fisher answered, the first point I was going to make is that the daytime, Monday through Thursday, is not an issue with the theater because it's they're not doing screenings. But
Right.
Maybe this is for Mr. Lynch. The large buyout, can you just explain that for us who are not in the hospitality business? I'm assuming that's somebody who's renting out the facility and the rooms at the same time.
Exactly. So, this is something that happens, perhaps once, twice per year, where a group will do a full buyout where they will pay for all rooms in the hotel. And, with the understanding that they will have exclusive use of the facilities during that time.
And when you say exclusive use, is that the convention space and the restaurant and the dining, or is that still always a opportunity for the public to come in addition to the event going on?
It would depend what's in the contract. It would depend what's in the contract.
So
But
it's possible that the whole hotel could be closed to public for an
Yes.
evening. Okay. And that is a parking problem, or maybe I'm mishearing.
n-
Is that type of event a high demand parking scenario? And
No.
why is that or not versus the daytime, the 1,000 people coming in thing?
it's not a parking problem typically, because usually those events are bringing people from out of town.
Got
And so they don't have cars.
Got
But the reason that we would keep the movie theater closed is just, because of what was discussed at the last meeting in regards to security and, the exclusive use of one particular group.
Understood. Okay, maybe that's where I was not following and thinking that those were heavy trafficked events. Got it. Okay, thank you.
That was a big event. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So changing the subject slightly, on safety, has the fire marshal signed off on the seating plan, exits, emergency exits, so on, number one, and does he need to? I don't know, we've got to change the use here. Maybe Pat knows the answer to that, whether that's required or not.
Yeah, Mr. Wells, I'll answer that. This application with the seats in it, although the use wasn't disclosed, was approved. So whether it's the movie theater or the AV conference room with the AV equipment, it's going to be the same evaluation. So that has been done and there's been a CO granted.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the whole thing with 550 being the trigger for the set aside and 8 parking spaces being set aside? Because the question I would ask the commission when, if, you know, we're in decision mode is, are you comfortable with those numbers?
For us as the applicant, I think we just are looking to address the request that was made and do it in a way that's
Yeah.
functional and works.
Yeah.
And maintain some flexibility. I think
Yeah.
our only concern is if we have a high traffic event with parking capacity demands, how much do we want to reserve for movie-going theater patrons? And that was really just a question.
Well, and if you want to have the movie theater be successful, this is also the perspective of the business person. If you want to have the movie theater be successful and someone has a bad experience, can't find parking, it's a big mess, they're not going to come back. So that doesn't work for you guys. So at some level, there's a part of me that's saying, hey, you've done okay so far. And it's been how long? 8 months, 9 months?
Since the summer,
July.
August.
July. That's when we first saw the ads. So, and you've done okay. Now, people aren't fully aware yet of the movie theater. Interestingly enough, they will be now because the paper wrote about your application. So that'll help, Mr. Lynch. So, Mr. Yeski.
So tell me what the 8 spaces are. Those are the ones reserved for the movie?
They're assuming, yeah, they're going to reserve. So this movie theater seats 40 people.
Right.
They assume an average occupancy of the seats of 40%. And then they got to that, and they would be required to have 16 and a half spaces in total. And so they said 8 spaces is a conservative estimate of what we should set aside, since on average we're at 40% occupancy and we're required to have 16 and a half.
That doesn't add up, does it?
Well, you're required because it's one for every 2.5, 1 parking space for every 2.5 movie seats.
No, let me say it a different way. If that movie theater is working and that people pull in for valet, they're only reserving 8 spaces for
So they were
potential.
40% of what they would be required in total. Because they're on average, they're only at 40% occupancy in the movie theater. I'm just explaining what their argument is and from what they told us at the last meeting and what they're saying now.
Okay, I've been there 3 times.
To the movies?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were an
40%
expert.
is very low. I think they're underestimating that. I'm not sure what right we have the demand exclusive spaces,
We can.
but I think it's low from a business standpoint. It's low. I think when people discover this movie theater, we don't have any in town. It's going to be more than 40% on average.
Give a number to the applicant and see what they say. That's why you're paid the big bucks.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 20.
But 20 is more than they're required. They're only
Okay, go back
required
to the
have
16 then.
16
Go
and a
back to the
half.
6. Yeah, go back to the 16.
Mr. Lynch?
Can I make a recommendation? So we sell tickets in advance to the movies. And so, you know, we're solving for a handful of nights here per year, right? And so what I would suggest is that on the day of the, you know, event, we
Perfect.
can, you know, run a report that shows
Love
us
it.
how many tickets we have
Sure.
sold. And
Love
then,
it.
And then do that maybe divided by 2, right? Assuming that you're going to have
Love
2
it.
people per car.
Yeah.
Got it.
Or, okay, love it.
That's good. That's good.
That's perfect. That would be the best way to do it. 13 times a year, you say we sold no movie tickets or we sold 40 movie tickets and you adjust so that you accommodate. That's perfect. That's better than pulling a number out of a hat. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's like people don't
Great.
believe that AI has a use, right? Here's a
And
great
then-
use for AI, right? So that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I do apologize. I have a 5 p.m.
Bye.
commitment that I'm late to, but
Bye.
you're in great hands with my colleague, Brittany. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Okay. Anything else from the commission? All right. Anybody in the public wish to comment on this application for a site plan? It's a site plan application for a movie theater in the Hyatt Hotel, 40-seat movie theater in the Hyatt Hotel. Who wishes to comment? Okay, so we did get some emails, Mr. Fisher and Ms. Lewin. And interestingly, the comment is about the condition of the obelisks, which is not a subject of this application, and I have no legal authority to mention it to you. But we got complaints that the obelisks are not well maintained.
Madam
So
Chair, if I may,
Yes, sir.
in the previous site plan approvals for the site
Mm-hmm.
is specific language about maintenance of the obelisks.
Mm-hmm. So we got that complaint. Oh, so you're saying, Mick's point is that since we're doing the movie theater pursuant to the previous site plan approval, Patrick, we could ask for the obelisk, that the applicant to do maintenance on the obelisks?
Well, I think certainly
notice for that.
with the prior decisions, the commission can obviously carry those forward, create new ones, or if they're no longer binding or valuable, they could go away. So that's at your discretion. And
So
Mr.
all
Mac,
previous, so Mr. McRae's
Yeah.
point about all previous conditions, Mr. Fisher, you're gonna regret being here. All previous conditions apply means that the maintenance of the obelisk comes back into play without us spelling it out. Is that what we're saying?
I do, and I will fully admit, I imagine it will take some interdepartmental coordination to do that, because of the jurisdiction and that are going to be involved. But we'll gladly participate and try to help if that's necessary.
Yeah, on behalf of the on behalf of the applicant, I don't have any information on the condition of them and what the maintenance issues would be, but obviously as a property owner, and with the understanding that there is such a obligation in a prior condition, we would be looking to work with you to be able to address that. And, I just don't have any information to know what exactly that would be at this point.
So how do we handle that, Patrick?
Well, I think Mr. Macrise is probably the most direct, is to say that the conditions from the prior decision carry forward, and we'll use that language. I'm rapidly scrolling through. Sorry if I'm.
Yeah, I'm looking for it myself.
Yeah, sorry if my
You
eyes
have
are
a good
darting.
memory. I didn't remember the obelisk at all. Oh, you did it. You did it. You weren't on ARC then? Okay.
No, it was in the
was
the
in, okay.
staff report with all of the previous approvals.
And it has come up. There was some graffiti. It's probably been 6 years, 7 years ago that was addressed. I don't know if it was the prior owners or whomever, but yeah. So I'm not aware of anything else going on. I mean, I know some people concerned about the staining from the patina on the copper that's migrated to the granite, but I'm that doesn't automatically assume that there's a structural issue, right?
Right. Yeah, and I'm familiar with the obelisks, and that would be the question. What is the maintenance component that's needed? And the other piece I have no idea of knowing, because that was part of the original Condé Nast development, is are some of them on the office building property, or are they all on the Hyatt? Who's responsible? I just have no way of knowing at this point in time.
Correct. That those assignments may have been spread out amongst the new owners of the properties that are involved. Yeah, understood. Sorry, I'm still scrolling.
Isn't it funny though? That's really the only thing. We're a couple of people who supported a movie theater. There was one person who objected to the traffic impact, and then there were people who wrote about the obelisks.
Right.
So I don't know how to.
If we're looking for a short answer, again, I would just stand by carrying that language forward, and we'll make sure it gets in there. It is definitely in the record. I know I've read it. When I put the last decisions in with the current application.
I'm recused on the next application. While I'm sitting, I'll look for it in detail and send it out to you.
Oh, and then we'll just do it at the end after the discussion items. Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Lowe, you have your hand up.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
You
that's
sound
okay.
surprised. Yeah. Um, it, there was some mention by a member of the public that reference to the historic, one of the historic groups in town that might had weighed in or might want to weigh in on these things, on these obelisks. And maybe that's in terms of looking for some sort of maintenance procedure moving forward. Perhaps they should be consulted, even if they haven't been involved in the past.
Okay, Patrick can talk to them about that.
Yeah.
I found it. Sorry. So the language on there says the Condé Nast obelisk should be protected and preserved, and this was the joint site plan of 17 and 1800. So this would be what is now the office complex and the hotel back then in 1984. That there has been an assignment and a split of ownership. So I appreciate that they're not one entity anymore, but that was the decision back in 84.
Well, beyond and I appreciate the comment about carrying over the conditions. I certainly don't have any objections to, as they were written, carrying them over. I think what would help us, beyond the context of the commission is, if we kind of follow back up with you, Patrick, and others, as to, kind of what is the condition, what is the, desired condition. We're a property owner looking to work with the community, so we can figure that out with the office building. But the hope would be that doesn't have to come down to, kind of
Absolutely.
commission follow-up.
Absolutely. And that you would work with Patrick and staff to address that concern. That and if you go through the public record for the application, you'll see the comments we got from the public. So you can, they just say that they're in need of maintenance. Okay, so the applicant, so you would address this with staff. Yeah. So, yeah. What is it? No good deed goes unpunished. Anything else?
Thank you.
And we had no public comment. Does anybody object to closing this application at this time?
No.
No.
All right, with that, this application is hereby closed. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Thank you, Ms. Lewin.
Thank you.
Question for you guys. We don't really need to wait. Nick, do you still want to do research before?
Nope.
Oh, you
Patrick
can't
found
anymore.
exactly-
And
Patrick
plus
found
you
exactly
can't-
what it was like.
We
Yeah.
closed it, so you can't anymore because you can't tell us anything anymore.
Well, I think Mr. McRae is saying thank you, Mr. LaRoe, for finding the haystack, and
All right.
good job. So thank you, Mr. McRae.
You guys ready to rock
Yes,
and
sir.
roll on making decisions?
Yes.
Okie dokie. So in regard to the application, in regard to HRG Hotel Owner LLC, care of Trinity GP Fund, application for a zoning text amendment to amend sections 65A 30 and 65A 51.1 of the town's building zone regulations to allow a theater use as a permitted incidental use within a hotel. Do I have to read the new language?
No, the language is published. So if
Okay.
you as
Okay, I'm
published
good.
and submitted. that's-
Rolling, skipping those two paragraphs. Whereas guiding principles 5 and 6 of the 2019 POCD state maintain economic vitality and thriving commercial centers, provide the best quality infrastructure, municipal facilities, cultural institutions, and health services. Whereas objective 1.2F of the 2019 POCD states update the building zone regulations to promote space for live and film theater experiences. Whereas the commission finds the proposed regulatory change consistent with the 2019 POCD. Whereas the commission also finds the proposal consistent with the statements of purposes for business zones contained in section 6102 of the building zone regulations. Whereas the proposed zoning text amendment was referred to WestCog and the agency advised on December 16, 2025, that in the opinion of regional staff, the proposed amendment is primarily of local interest with no intermunicipal impact. Therefore, be it resolved, this application for a zoning text amendment is hereby approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Yeski has seconded. Ms. Jenkins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe,
Aye.
Mr. Yeski,
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0. And we go to the site plan. HRG Hotel Owner LLC, care of Trinity GP Fund 1 GP LLC, application for a final site plan to seek approval to convert an existing conference space into a 40-seat theater as an accessory and incidental use to the operating hotel on a 14.048 acre property located at 1800 East Putnam Avenue in the GB zone. Whereas this application is made subsequent to a zoning text amendment approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on February 18th, 2026. Whereas the applicant reports 551 parking spaces on site. And whereas pursuant to section 6158 of the zoning regulations, 374 parking spaces should be provided for guest rooms, 65 for the restaurant, and 16 for the proposed theater at 2.5 seats per parking space for a total of 455 seats. Whereas the site therefore appears to have 95 spaces available for additional events or uses. Whereas the applicant has advised that approximately 20% of the moviegoers dine on site, thus potentially reducing restaurant-related parking demand. Whereas the applicant has offered that when galas with an anticipated attendance of over 550 guests are scheduled at the same time as the public movie showings, the hotel shall require that parking spaces in close proximity to the common entrance be reserved and made available to public moviegoers. Whereas the applicant has also offered that if physical security checks are required for all attendees at an event booked at the hotel, and the security check is to be located at the common entrance to the building, the hotel shall close the theater to public moviegoers during the time of that specific event. Whereas on January 30th, 2026, DPW Traffic advised it had no issues with the application based on the data and assumptions provided by the applicant. Whereas on January 29, 2026, the ZEO advised having no outstanding issues with the application. Whereas the commission received public comment regarding disrepair of the historic obelisks. Therefore, be it resolved that the subject application is hereby approved with the following conditions. 1, when galas with an anticipated attendance of over 550 seats are scheduled at the same time as public movie showings, the hotel shall require parking spaces in close proximity to the common entrances to the building be reserved and made available to public moviegoers consistent with the number of tickets sold for the theater. When physical security checks are required for attendees at an event booked at the hotel, and the security check is to be located at the common entrance to the building, the hotel shall close to the theater to public moviegoers during the time of that specific event. Employee parking shall be accommodated on site. All other conditions from the previous site plan approval are to remain in effect. In particular, the commission has requested the applicant address maintenance and preservation of the obelisks. The applicant is to address this issue with staff and any other outstanding staff or departmental comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Yeski has second. Any amendments or comments?
Did we specifically say all of the conditions of the prior?
All
Yes.
conditions from the
Okay.
previous site plan approval to remain in effect. In
Thank you.
particular, the commission has requested the applicant address maintenance and preservation of the obelisks. The applicant is to address this issue with staff.
Thank you.
Type fast. All right, so we have a second. No other amendments or comments? All righty, so with that, Madam Jenkins,
Aye.
Mr. Lowe,
Aye.
Mr. Yeski,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0. And we proceed to our discussion items. The first discussion item we have is the Berkeley Insurance Company. Hold on, Mr. Hegney has his hand up. He's ready.
Madam Chair, I'm sure Mr. Hegney's going to mention this. I think he has a 6 o'clock appointment, so we will be moving expeditiously.
Yeah,
That's
and
twice as long as we're going to afford
I
it.
know no one's going to be upset that 6 o'clock's the hard out on this discussion.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, I'm recused.
by Mr. McRae, and seated for Mr. McRae on this item will be Ms. Jenkins. Good evening, Mr. Hegney. You're still muted. Okay. And there you go. Good evening,
There we
Mr.
are.
Hegney.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
The time police for the commission, there's a person who has that assignment, would like us to keep this to 20 minutes. I think we won't have trouble doing that. We can get you to your next meeting. This item is
Thank you.
Berkeley Insurance Company for a pre-application review for a proposed demolition and reconstruction of a building in the same location as currently stands at 475 Steamboat Road on 126,867 square foot parcel in the GB and coastal overlay zones. So Mr. Hegney, since we're going to go to the three issues, you heard us yesterday. The first thing that we mentioned is it appears per your letter that you are staying with all the existing nonconformities and not expanding any of the nonconformities, and therefore would be within your rights, your zoning rights to proceed with this, to gain our approval for this application. We did mention yesterday that some of the numbers are inconsistent in the application as to the square footage. In some places it increases, which would not be what you're doing. We raised some questions about the guardhouse and the effect of that approval on the FAR. And we didn't talk much about the coastal overlay zone, but I assume you're well aware of all the requirements and you will address them. And with that, I think those are, oh, Mr. Lowe has a point too. Mr. Lowe.
I'll wait
Okay.
until Mr. Hegney is finished. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hegney. So there's your opener.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commission members. As you indicated, we're looking to demolish the existing building and construct a new one. This was brought about after we actually had obtained the building permit to do the renovations that you approved back in 2023. Going through the cost-benefit analysis, the building as it's constructed with its framing did not lend the ability to have an updated office building. And also that would have left the existing structure in terms of windows and the rest of the exterior of the building in place. And the thought was, if it's going to cost just as much to build a new building as it is to renovate this one, it would be better to have a new building. This building was built in 1969. There were some significant renovations in 2001, but it's still a building that was built over 50 years ago. This would enable us to provide for bird-friendly glass, which I know is a concern that the Commission has.
The Conservation Commission has raised it in the past.
Yes. Yep. And it's something that is in the forefront these days, and making it more energy efficient than what we were planning on doing just with the replacement of the mechanical equipment. We are looking to maintain the same square footage, which is 96,550 square feet. That's what was in our application to you in 2023 as the existing square footage of the building.
It just
so it's
didn't.
96,550, and I apologize for my errors in terms of including a different number.
Okay,
it's
so
too many fives I was including before.
So that's the guard.
96550.
The guardhouse goes in, right? Because
the guardhouse is 63 square feet, and that
but
we
whatever
did get
that
a
is,
variance from the Board of Appeals for that.
Right.
And we want to maintain the guardhouse just as it was approved by you
because, and that's
3 years ago.
I wanted you to say that because that variance, as we discussed yesterday, whatever variances you've gotten, run with the land. And therefore, even though you demolish, you have the ability to continue the variances as well as the nonconformity. Okay, go ahead.
And that's the only variance we obtained. We
didn't
did
know.
obtain prior approvals. One was to utilize the gate on Davenport. We got that in 2019 when Bruce Museum was going through its construction, and we have had almost no use of that since that was approved by the commission. In 2021, we came to you to convert the storage area in the penthouse to a conference space. We're looking to continue that as part of it, and that was also included in the package that we had for the 2023. There was questions on, is it the exact same footprint? No, this would not be the exact same footprint as the existing building. It would be moved roughly 8 to 9 feet from the west to the east, from the east to the west. So it would be farther away from Smith Cove than it is now. The vestibule would be removed and moved to the inside of the building. So the overall east-west width of the building does change, but it's shorter than what it currently is. And north-south, it will be increased approximately 13 feet. So although when we come back to you with a full application, we will show an overlay with existing footprint and a proposed footprint, so you can see that. But overall, it's still going to be roughly where it is now, with some minor changes in terms of its movement.
I thought that you were required to stay within the existing footprint completely.
Under what reading of
In
the
retaining the
statute?
nonconformities. I realize actually we give slightly more flexibility in 6141, but in the, okay, I'll go back and look at it, but what my recollection is, it's the existing footprint.
Well,
Patrick, do you have any
that
comment
would
on
be a
that
good
before?
question for us to ask you
Okay.
now. Can we move the footprint around slightly to meet the structural changes we need to make to this space to make it work?
Great question. Okay. I'm glad we got that out. Patrick, do you have any comment? And we could go to Peter Lowe and Mary. Mary, are you on that topic?
Yeah, I would say that generally the issue tends to be that when you demolish a building, this is going to sound familiar, Mr. Hagney, when you demolish a building, you're entitled to recreate the nonconformities that attach. And this is close, and certainly it's not appreciably bigger. The height is the same, and certain of the nonconformities, including the size of the building, remain, but you change your setbacks. So again, to the extent that the phrase I've usually used is ghost building, you take a building down, you have no intent to abandon it. You recreate the building, a prettier building, but it's supposed to basically be a ghost building to the nonconformities that you're retaining. So again, to the extent that there are changes in the setbacks here, and they're minor, and some of them are better and some of them are not as good, it isn't exactly the footprint. And so I think it would have to be addressed in terms of, again, familiar subject here, moving something around from the current footprint of the building, even if it's minor. And again, there may be further discussion on that. But what you retain after you demolish a building is the ghost building of what you had before you demolished the building. And I think with our 20-minute limit, we're going to have to leave that for the application.
So, and as I recall, we may accept a slight movement. So let us go back and do the homework. Okay. But
yeah,
we're not required to accept it, but that we may. Mr. Lowe.
Yes, Mr. Agney, a few questions. As I read this, the so-called mechanicals are still planned for the roof, are they not?
Correct.
Thank you.
One question would be what noise or pollution abatement measures are being taken to mitigate those issues,
Well,
particularly for the surrounding neighbors?
Certainly, and that is a concern, and you know we've been in discussions with those neighbors, particularly Mr. Stillman, who was on the last application, and we've worked with on developing this. First is the equipment will be quieter than the equipment that's there now, even though we've replaced some of the motors that are there. There will be a more robust acoustical screen than the temporary one that we installed recently on the roof, so that we're able to meet all of the town's noise ordinances.
Okay, and what proportion of this building is glass, would you say?
A significant portion of the building is glass,
Right.
as
So-
it currently is.
95?
Yeah, and so are there steps that are being taken to address concerns about bird strikes?
Yes, this would be bird-friendly glass, fritted or marked in some way, so that it's visible when birds are in the area.
Okay, is there some, I'm actually not familiar with this, but are there some standards or particular measures you can comment on with regard to that?
It's interesting. You see it in some of the new buildings in the city. And last time I was really brought to my attention was up in Toronto when some of the large buildings they're building, and it has dots so that the birds don't see it as clear space; they see it as a solid, and that seems to be the trend now for bird-friendly glass.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Jenkins?
And that was not part of our prior approval.
Okay.
For the renovation. We were going to keep the same glass that's there now.
Right. No, and you can lay out the space better. I mean, I understand it. Ms. Jenkins?
Yes, also related to the increased volume of glass on the outside of the building. Is there going to be some way to limit the light pollution? Because it looks to me like a lot more of the building is going to have lighting behind it than it had before, visible to the outside.
We will certainly be addressing that for you as well. But most of the rooms will have motion sensors so that when no one's in the room, the lights go off. And I'll talk to the architects as to whether there's some type of particular tinting that prevents the light pollution.
Okay. And I had another question, which I've now forgotten. May I be so crude as to point out a typographical in your page 5 in your presentation, just because I proofread everything that I put my eyes to, so penthouse. The other question was, I thought that in the prior application, the generator was going to be put internally. Is it going to be on the roof?
This plan currently calls for it on the roof. We're looking at that to see how that works. What you have on the screen right now shows a larger enclosure for the mechanical penthouse than either what's there now or what's permitted under the regulations. And that's one of the things we're looking at, whether that's something that either we could go to the Board of Appeals with, or the commission could consider a larger penthouse to allow for the mechanical equipment on the roof.
Thank you.
Mr. Yaski? You're muted, I think.
You're muted, Dennis.
Yeah, I got it. Mr. Hegney, I've got to ask, since the building's going to be skinnier but a little bit longer, is there an easy way to describe why you're doing this? What happens inside that is so much better than what you have today?
It is the module or framework of the building in sections. Jeremiah Hancock, our architect, is in the waiting room, and if he could come and comment
We're
on that,
working
because
on it.
I did discuss that with him.
Okay, thank you. Well, the good thing for us is it may improve some of your setback, there he goes. Some of your nonconformities. Okay, he's on his way in. I won't be able to see him. Oh, he's in. Go ahead. If you would unmute. Yeah, okay. So Mr. Hancock, the question about the way the building, the dimensions of the building.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Tom. Mr. Hegney, we've increased, like Mr. Hegney described, the structural bay sizes to standardize them across the building. The existing structural bay sizes have differentiation at the perimeter bays versus the interior bay, and that's what's led to the adjustments in dimension of the east-west and north-south of the building. And I think that that's harder to read because of the elimination of the entry vestibule. So to Mr. Hegney's recommendation, we'll include an overlay so those dimensional details can be seen.
Okay, but you're standardizing, is that create easier construction, bigger spaces? What does it do when you standardize the base?
Yeah, a little bit of both. More generous sizing relative to the components of the interior. So the 30 by 30 bay is a more desirable bay size than the 28-foot bay and the inconsistencies between those bay sizes in the existing building.
So is that like standard in office buildings these days?
It's one of many standards, but it is an advantageous structural bay size to tap into.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, just to follow up, both on my a previous question I asked and I think what Ms. Jenkins was asking. Given all the issues that were occasioned by your previous design with the generator being placed on the roof, why is the generator now being planned for the roof with an entirely new building and when other options are available?
That is one of the discussions we've been having. And Jeremiah and I had that discussion earlier today. We are looking at where that would be, the generator that is, if we located it elsewhere in lower level, for example. We're looking to have more parking in the garage under the building than exists now, and that's one of that we think that there's an advantage to that, and some of that would be lost if we had to locate the generator there. But it's an issue we're looking at.
Okay, does that assume that the parking as presented in this rendition on the screen is not deemed adequate to for the business to carry on inside the building on a day-to-day basis?
No. We have 222 spaces right now. We'll have 222 spaces plus 6 handicap spaces as proposed. And we did do a parking study last year to show that to a great extent we have more parking than is needed, although it's not as much parking as the current regulations would require.
I'm trying to understand why you need more. You might find it desirable to have more parking within the building.
It eliminates some of the surface parking. It allows for a little more green space. The parking between the building and Steamboat Road will essentially remain as it is. There are a few more spaces that are eliminated to allow for a better circulation after you come in from the guard booth. But overall, it's going to remain basically as you see it now, and as it appears on this rendering on the screen.
It would ultimately, it would be interesting to know the difference in the impact of having the generator placed internally versus on the roof, including the issues I alluded to earlier having to do with noise and pollution.
Certainly, we will look at that.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. We got 33 seconds. Is that right? Let me just go for public comment. If nobody has, does anybody else have any questions or comments?
No.
All right, Mr. Stillman, you're back. All right. Mr. Stillman. There you go. Okay. And if you would just unmute, you're all set. Go ahead.
Hold on. There we go. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about this. Obviously, I have a history of concerns about the building, but I'm not going to go there in this discussion. First of all, you know, this building is very prominent when you come into Greenwich, off I-95 and the downtown area. And the thing I like about the sketch that's been shown is that the name on the building, the sign, is much smaller. And it says W.R. Berkeley up in the upper left corner, pretty quietly, as opposed to what it is today. However, the building itself is a lot more visible. First of all, we know that it's oversized in terms of the number of stories, for example. And it's really effectively 6 stories tall with the equipment on the roof. And then it's accentuated with in this design with vertical, I don't know if those are called spandrels or whatever they are, the vertical trim on the building. And then it's all glass. So it really looks like as Mr. Hegney said, it's reminiscent of a city like Toronto or New York City, Park Avenue, not a residential community like Greenwich. So I'm just not really comfortable with it. The way it is now, it has a combination of dark colored material on the side and minimal glass, you know, just to provide light into the rooms. It seems to blend into the environment. Whoever did that design was pretty sensitive to make it so that it appeared, despite its bulk, okay, you know, for what it is, because it's next to a preserve, the Audubon Oneida Preserve, and it needs to be sensitive to its environment. So this building currently being all dark reduces the visual appearance of bulk based on a lot of studies, and it's okay for a building that's this massive and under current regulations would never be allowed. So I object to that. But you have an opportunity now to reconfigure the whole site. So thinking about noise and light pollution, etc., why not move the building more forward, more towards the west and away from the Oneida Preserve? Why not reconfigure the rooftop systems? The generator placement is not ideal, obviously, because it adds to the bulk on the roof, and it may have a lot more noise. But what I object to, or I'd like the applicant to consider, is relocating the air conditioning equipment that's on the roof to the west side of the building, where there's no limited possibility to, emit noise across the tidal inlet. And that should be possible if they would consider reconfiguring it. The generator placement inside would be nice. There's also a consideration of if they want more underground parking, why don't they excavate? They're going to be taking 22,000 cubic yards of material out according to the plan. That sounds like about 1,500 truckloads. which is going to be crazy. Why not do a little more and excavate under the existing parking lot, create more parking, and if they want it there. So I think that there's opportunity to look at that building again and thinking about preserving the Oneida Preserve. The other point is the glass, and the placement of a large auditorium inside the building on the east side. It's a multi-story glass facade there for an auditorium. When the lights are on, light's just going to pour into that Oneida Preserve. I believe that the current or the new lighting ordinance prohibits any light emission into a wetland area. And I just don't understand how they're going to accomplish that. My understanding is that when you rebuild, you have to comply with all the new regulations, that you don't get that grandfathered in as a nonconformity just because you had a building there before. So complying with the regs for both noise and lighting is going to be, I think, something that will require a lot more thought and discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
You're-
Thank you very much, Mr. Stillman. Does anybody else from the public wish to speak on this application? Kindly raise your virtual hand. Nope, that's it. Okay. That's it. Nonconformity, to the extent you're reducing the nonconformity on you're going to a lesser nonconformity on the setbacks, the footprint issue is offset, really. So we'll work on that and we'll have answers before we see you again. And anything else you've got for us, Mr. Hegney?
No, food for thought. And it's helpful to have this discussion with you.
Yeah, and it's also good to know that, you're in a coastal, so people are going to be looking for the accommodation for the overlay zone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Certainly.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
So
Thank
our
you.
next is Mr. Brower, if he would raise his hand. There he is. All right, here comes Mr. Brower. Mr. Hegney gets the rest of the night off.
Mr. Macrae, thank you. I was just about to
Yeah.
call you.
Yeah, I looked to make sure he's back. All right. Okay, now you got to do some work, Mr. Macrae. We've given you most of the night off. Our next application is Manuel Liu for a pre-application review for a proposed conversion of a legally non-conforming two-family residence to a single-family residence, but moving one of the existing units to the existing detached garage / storage building, and the parcel is 0.1680 acres in a mixed zone, depending on which building you're talking about. I hear we just have it that it's in the LBR1, but it's actually in 2 zones, correct?
Yes.
So we'll just correct the notice, the zoning, how it's zoned when we do the next notice. Okay, Mr. Brower, the time police is watching. Go
Okay.
ahead.
We'll be brief. Eric Brower on behalf of the applicant. Also on the line is Tony DeAndrea, our site designer and engineer, as well as Robert Politano, who's the project architect. If you may have questions for them or if they want to comment. But as you noted, yes, we have a property in 2 zones, R12 zone in the rear. We're a corner lot on Neighborly Way and Palmer Hill Road, and the front portion of the property is in an LBR-1 zone. So the residential use currently is non-conforming. What we're proposing to do, as you noted, is to relocate one of the units from out of the old house to a modified garage structure. The house itself is old, quaint looking, nice part of the streetscape. There are other older homes along Palmer Hill that this fits into nicely. But it is functionally a disaster. It's, over 100 years old. Was chopped up over the years, stairways and the like. It's so it is not certainly conducive to current living design standards. And as a two-family, it's less desirable in terms of privacy and utilization of the building. So without changing the footprints or the exterior, with the exception of the garage roof, we're proposing to keep everything the same. There'll be no change in coverage. Parking layout can remain the same. I did take a look after listening in yesterday on the bedroom count, and actually, when you count what are dens, studies, or lofts, which for parking purposes are considered bedrooms, we have a total of 6 existing units, 6 bedrooms in the existing house, and proposed would be 4 and 2 in the garage. So we wind up with overall the same bedroom count. Having said that, we would need to and can easily tweak. There's a den office building, den office room proposed that we would make considerably more open, so as it would not necessarily trigger an additional bedroom if that was in fact a concern of the commission. So the changes do not increase FAR or coverages. As I said, there is by modifying the existing attic space in the garage, there will be additional square feet that's made now more usable, but in fact, it's still less than the 40%. So we don't actually technically increase FAR. So the advantage of doing this is would be to reduce a nonconformity within the regulations, provide more appropriate housing accommodations, and so that's the overview in a nutshell. There's questions at this point.
Ms. Jenkins.
Yes, Mr. Brower, the the attic level in the existing house, is that currently being used as for residents? Does it have bedrooms or other useful space in there?
Yes, yes, it is. There's an existing bedroom up there currently.
Okay.
Mr. McRae?
Mr. Brower, 6 bedrooms is 6 parking spaces?
I would count 5.
5. Okay, looking at Mr. DeAndre's site plan.
Yes.
I guess there's 5 there, but the geometry of that layout is questionable. I would think actually you and Mr. DeAndre, the design team, go back and take a look at that. One space, I believe it's number 6, looks to be impinged.
I'm lost here. This is going to convert to a single family residence with an ADU.
No, not as an ADU. No, it'll just be taking an existing legally non-conforming 1 of 2 dwelling units and placing it actually as a conforming use within the R12 zone. Currently, you make them all separate. We have an accessory building without a primary building in a residential zone. So it's a little confusing how to clearly.
Well, so if you move the zone line, you could have a single family dwelling with an ADU and you wouldn't have all the required parking. Just saying.
That could be true. We don't, we're not trying to waive parking, and I agree with Mr. Macri. We can probably come up with something better. Actually, we've looked at 2 or 3 other versions, and obviously we're dealing with existing geometry and footprint constraints. But there are other ways of doing it. We can rotate the spaces that might be then perpendicular to the garage building. It's also possible that in the placement of where that deck area is, that we could put one of the spaces if they're problematic in that location and jockey around the edges of pavement so that we don't wind up with an increase in coverage. So point well taken, and we
Okay.
definitely can come back.
I'm still stuck on the requirement for parking, so let me just back up a sec. If you are saying it's a two-family, are you saying it's a two-family then with the second family? I'm confused as how you're classifying it, because under 25.1, which we have to, under PA 25.1, which we have to revise our regs for, we would not be able to require you to have parking for a two-fam of the 6 spaces. If you move the zone line and you do a single family with an ADU, we also wouldn't be able to require you to have parking. And you can have the parking, but you could do as much impervious as fits the site. And if it's only one family that has lots of bedrooms, they might have less cars. And my question would be, why not reduce the impervious? And what's a better way of using the site?
Mhm.
So I'm
Well,
not sure, depending on which way you go. Patrick, where's Patrick? Patrick, there's a couple of, do we have to, is it a two-family?
Well, I'm reading the notes on Mr. DeAndrea's survey or the DeAndrea's office, and it says single family proposed. So I'm assuming existing has COs for 2. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, it's currently that was scrutinized when building permit was taken out to do interior work. So it's definitely a two-family.
Going to a one-family with
Correct.
what sure looks like an ADU. Only now you have only an accessory structure in one of the zones, but if you just move the zone line, which we're not wild about split zones, split lots, you would be able to do what's right for the property development. I'm just throwing that out there. What's best for the site?
Well, we're not going to increase pavement or footprint or runoff in any event. We're keeping the same bedroom count, and there's basically 5 spaces there now, and we'll be coming up with 5 better spaces. So I'm not sure in going to an ADU it would actually functionally restrict greater the property than its current use, which is two families that aren't restricted.
I'm sorry, there's no restriction on an ADU.
Well, there is the owner.
The owner occupancy, and you wouldn't want to have, so you want to not have an ADU because you want to do, you want to be able to have non-resident ownership.
Correct. Yeah.
I'll just make one clarification. This is it's the building is in 2 zones. So right now there is a foot of
primary.
Right, of the
There's
primary building in there, which
Okay.
is a 2-family. So that's what the ask is to migrate or move the second unit from the existing 2-family into the
All
outbuilding.
right, then you get into 25.1. Now you're in a 2-family.
Right.
Now
Less
you have
than 16.
you're at less than 16 units. The new state statute puts us in a position of not being able to require parking for anything that's under 16 units. So our zoning
right, that's the coming regulation. Our current regulations are still the current regulations. So,
but I mean, we have a state statute that's effective October 1 in this regard.
July 1.
July 1. I
Not
thought
for
the
the parking.
statute.
The parking is not a valid or in effect until July 1 of this year.
Okay, so July 1. I thought that parking went into effect October 1.
Nope.
Okay,
Nope,
got
nope.
it. Got it. Okay, I take that back then. So you're still having to do sufficient parking for the 2-fam. I'm good. I take it all back. Nick, back over to you. I'm sorry. Nick?
So, Mr. Brower, if
Yes.
you do return, some thoughts on the calisthenics of moving cars around the site.
Mhm.
If you have something that's different, something that is a little bit more convenient, doesn't back into a wall or somebody else's car, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
Noted.
Mr. Wells?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to talk a little bit about access, Mr. Brower. it looks like from the overlay that, is there one driveway coming in serving 334 Palmer Hill and also 336 Palmer Hill and 5 Neighborly Way? Is there one driveway serving, I guess, the 3 current residential structures? Or am I reading it wrong?
And a couple more further to the left, which is south. So that's Neighborly Way is actually a private road right of way. You probably could see it maybe on the topo sheet, the next one better. I don't know. It's one way or the other. But in any event, it's so you can see there, the blue box is the subject property. Yeah, that's probably a little better. So there is a combined driveway system to the east of us that goes up the hill, but which are rear access ways. But the road that we adjoin on the east is Neighborly Way, which runs up the hill and serves the 3 you were talking about, and I think at least a couple more. So that's a private way that was laid out many years ago.
Okay. And could you comment on the topography, at least for your lot? I mean, is it, we got a flat lot, or is there a fair amount of, change in topography?
Yeah, no, that if we go to, let me see, to the D'Andrea plan, it slopes from down at Palmer Hill Road. The front yard slopes up, then the house itself works with the topography. There's an exposed basement level on the north, which then is no longer visible to the, okay, good. So you see that. So from the front, on the top left is the porch that faces the street, and much of that basement level is exposed. You see that in the side view as well as the land slopes up. So the front yard in the existing house, two-family house, is on a sloping level, and then by the time you get to the back of the house, it becomes essentially level, the lot itself.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Brown, do you mind if I turn to public comment?
Don't, go ahead, please.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this application at 334 Palmer Hill Road? 334 Palmer Hill Road? Okay, nobody from the public. So, all right, so I guess since you would have to, since what you're doing is preserving an existing non-conforming two-family use.
Well, I guess reducing and making it more conforming to the extent that we're putting a house in the residential zone, which now has a non-conforming accessory building without a primary.
Well, except that Patrick pointed out that you have a tiny section of the primary that overlaps into the other zone, and therefore you don't have an accessory without a primary. Isn't that what you meant, Patrick?
Correct. Well, there's a two-family. There's a two-family on the lot, and it's in both zones, so it spans the boundary between the
So
two.
your accessory has a primary.
Yes.
Yes and no. It's obviously a very unique situation.
Right, but Patrick is saying your accessory has a primary. I would run with that.
I would. Well, yeah. I'm not going to put words in the applicant's mouth, but yeah, I think that you, Madam Chair, that is one way to look at it.
Okay, and then the other thing, and again, you don't want to change the zone line because all you want to do is keep a non-conforming two-family residential use on this split lot. Correct?
Generally, yes.
Okay. I'm actually trying to clarify it for the commission because I'm seeing some puzzled faces. So
Well,
I'm trying to
it's not,
clarify it. What?
It's hard to describe because it's obviously an oddball. I don't.
It's an oddball. So we just need to put the oddball in a bucket that kind of fits it. And that's as close as I can come unless you want to say it differently.
We'll go with that for now.
Okay. And then we can change later. All righty. Having no public comment, we'll see you when you come in with the application. Anybody want to throw anything in? No. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
You're good, right? Okay. Thank you.
We'll work on the parking. Thank you.
And trees. Don't forget trees.
One tree and the green. Keep the green.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Michael Thomason is coming in. I see. I thought it was going to be Mr. Hegney. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Thomason's representing the
right.
salad.
Is this the first time Mr. Thomason has been before us? I feel like he did one other time.
I think he might be alone for the first time, so be gentle.
Oh. We're always nice. Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Our next application is a discussion item, Just Salad 498 East Putnam Avenue. This is a consolidation of 2 existing retail spaces into a fast food location with 28 seats, which will be under 3,000 square feet. And it is at Coscop Plaza. The existing uses are the ATT store, and you're going to tell me what else I just blanked. And with that, go ahead, Mr. Thomason. You want to go ahead and do the police clock? Just because it makes Mr. Lowe happy.
Police clock. Oh.
The time police.
Oh, the time police. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Thomason.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the commission and staff. Michael Thomason from Tom Hegney's office. This is the chair presented the way the application is described. It was succinct, and there isn't really all too much to it. Beyond that, there are two storefronts that are that will be consolidated. It's the AT&T stores the chair noted, and a Doe's hair salon.
The hair salon.
And so both stores are in the LB zone in Coscob Plaza. One of the benefits of this application is that the restaurant will require substantially less parking than the prior use of the space, and that was particularly driven by the hair salon. We estimate on the restaurant space the parking requirement would be 11 spaces, and previously that requirement was 28. I did listen to the briefing yesterday, and there were a couple of points I just wanted to address. First and foremost, there was discussion, I believe, with Commissioner McRae and the chair about the nature of the business and whether it would count as a restaurant or a fast food restaurant. We did pull. There's effectively 3 similar restaurant business models in town: Chopped and Cava and Chipotle. And I did pull the Chopped approval and zoning permit sign-off memo, and that is an almost identical business model, dare I say, and that was a restaurant, not a fast food restaurant. Even if it were considered fast food, I think that we would still be under the prior parking demand of 28 spaces. Again, but for a sake of the consistent application of the regulations, we would prefer to be viewed as a restaurant.
So you do not want to be fast food as currently noticed?
I don't. It's noticed as fast food?
Yes, sir. But that's fine. We can switch it. I mean,
Okay.
that's fine. It was just, I'm just clarifying so that they know the next time they do the public notice.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
Because
so.
Mr. McRae had his doubts yesterday that how salad became fast food.
Okay,
So-
I'm not sure exactly how that happened. I can.
That's okay.
that,
Stuff
but-
happens. We can fix it.
Okay. And I think that was the most significant document I obtained. I also reached out to my client, which operates locations at which in various other towns throughout the state. Closest to us are Westport and Fairfield. The lunch traffic is the lunch business is higher than the dinner business in terms of a customer breakdown, with lunch being from 11:30 to 2:30, dinner being 5:30 to 7:30. There is a decent portion of business. I don't have exact numbers for you right now. That's delivery support, Uber Eats, and the like, for both lunch and dinner. So that was just something that was discussed yesterday. And I think that those were the two main points that came up.
Yeah,
yesterday.
what we were talking about yesterday was the functioning of the site, given the different demands, the time of the demands. So the Shaolin being in the evening, when is peak for veg? Those are the two, I think, that are the greatest traffic generators. I don't think the hobby shop generates that much traffic. And so it was just the question of the functioning of the site that the peak hours of parking demand don't overlap, or when they overlap. And it would seem that the overlap would be during the evening hours, because that's when Shaolin is having their classes. Veg does a lot of their work outside of normal business hours, because they're open 24 hours.
Right.
And it would be when people come home from work and they find that their parrot is sick or something, I don't know. So just that was what we were asking, is when is the peak demand for parking? I know you're familiar with this, but for the commission, a fast food restaurant is one parking space for 2 persons, whereas the restaurant is 1 parking space for 3 persons. And that is basically because of the point Nick was making yesterday of the higher turnover rate in the fast food. So in the restaurant, you have a lower parking requirement because you're not moving in and out as much. So you're not you have got to make space for the folks that are coming in to pick up. And I think we're seeing more and more of this takeout, the demand for takeout, and also the delivery vehicles. It's just the world changed since 2020. I don't have anything else. What about the rest of the commission?
Yes.
Go.
You heard the discussion yesterday, and I think actually one of the biggest things is actually understanding the layout of the parking and understanding this is a fast food restaurant.
Well, no, he's saying restaurant.
Yeah, okay. In that case, I think actually the 2 spaces that are actually in the front of the site are questionable because you're backing out onto the post road. That's really inherently unsafe. In the nature of fast food or whatever we're calling this, it would seem to me actually the lots of parking in the back is one of the safer bets. You do have a back door. One thing I would suggest is actually working on that back door location from the parking lot, and actually instead of it just being the back door, create it as a better, more primary entrance, an awning, a sign, get rid of the hedge, those kind of things. Even to the effect actually stripe the asphalt so you really know that it's there. But in my opinion, if I was coming here, I'd rather park in the back and walk into that back door. It's a lot safer, and I'm going to be there for 5 seconds, and I don't want to have kind of this crazy maneuvering to get out of my spaces in the front.
Nick, the way those 2 spaces work, you don't have to back into the post road.
No, you're backing out, but you're still backing into the right of way of the post road, and you're backing out. Actually, if you take a look at the spaces themselves.
Yeah, looking at them right now, what you do is you back up, and then you have all that area in the front of the plaza that you can drive down the length. But that second space closer to Robertson is tricky. I see your point.
Right. So those 2 spaces, as you're backing out, thinking, okay, I'm backing out the length of that parking space before I can turn. Yeah, I think the rear end of a car would actually be in the travel lane of the post road.
Yeah. Or yeah. Okay.
So getting back to what I was talking about, lack of a better way to say it, celebrating the back entrance for the clients to understand, yes, there's an easier way to get into here rather than, fighting for spaces in the front. Lots of parking in the back that's available. And if you kind of push in that direction, I believe you'll have more clients thinking this could be more convenient than it actually is. The other thing is, this particular site has a very extensive sign program that's been approved by ARC. What I'm seeing here is that you've got signs everywhere. They're huge, they're lit. I think actually taking a look and have the design team take a look at what's going on with the building and the sign program. Maybe revise your signage so it actually starts to work with the approved sign program before you go to ARC, but ARC definitely has to look at this. It just seems that I've got signs on all sides of the building that actually just are completely incongruous with the program that's been established for the buildings.
Certainly something, the signage, we're obviously going to go to ARC for that. As far as I'm not sure exactly what other, there's one lit sign in the front of the building.
There's a lit sign that's actually on a cornice, but that's not part of the program. It should be on the brick. It's a lit sign. I don't believe there's the other anchor store has lit signs, but I don't believe that area could be lit. You have a logo on another elevation that's just lit. You have some vinyl decals, and you have the back door with an awning that I believe really should be something a little bit bigger. So you really know here's a better entrance to this site other than just the front door and the funny parking.
Okay, we will certainly take a look at those. I did submit a supplemental sheet A301 that had some modifications to the building exterior elevations, which reflect some changes to the signage. And so I'm not sure if you're taking a look at our presentation materials that has the correct.
I have 301 and it's dated 1/12/26.
It should be the 2/12/26.
And when was that submitted?
Last week.
A301, you said?
Correct. So the one that's in our presentation material that's on the screen now, that's showing the current signage. That's what's in the signage package that we submitted to ARC.
Okay, I think I'm looking at the same thing.
Okay. There is the logo that I think was taken off.
Mm-hmm. All right, but you have signage on the awnings that face to the west?
Correct.
And it looks like there are actually new awnings there.
Correct. And yeah, correct.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. LaRoe, you have your hand up.
While we're talking about signage, Mr. Thompson, just so you're aware, there is a sidewalk program that's going on in front of this business or this property.
Yeah.
And the direction or the directory sign may actually have encroached into the state right away. And so just when that project creeps up that way on Route 1, DPW is likely going to recommend some fixes on that. So just so your client's aware.
Thank you. We're aware. Landlord's aware. Thank you very much.
So I think we said it, but just saying it again, when you come back, what the question's going to be, Mathnasium also has evening hours. I had forgotten about them. So it's just the peak hours that coincide with restaurant use as opposed to the existing retail. And whether or not, how that's going to work and what the demand is going to be.
Understood.
What I was trying to remember, and I know Shaolin has a back door. It's too bad Mr. Brower's gone because he lives right nearby there. I know Shaolin has the back door. I couldn't remember. Is there a rear entrance to the space you're looking? Oh, yes, there is.
Yes.
I see it now.
Each one of them has a rear entrance. And
I
there's
see it. I see it. So
rear entrance to the upper floor as well out back there.
Seeing it. So they all have the rear entrance. I'm seeing it now, and they could walk in people could walk in through the rear if you lay it out that way. Okay. Any comments from the public regarding this pre-application at 498 East Putnam Avenue in Coscob? Any comments from the public? Nope. All right. Okay, so we're good. Mr. Thomason, did you have anything for us that you wanted to know?
No, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. All right, Mr. Tessie next. Yes, there he is.
I believe Mr. Tessie's for the next two.
Yeah, and somebody's got background noise if they can turn it off. 500 something. All right, Mr. Tessie, you ready? Mr. Tessie, you're still muted.
We got the clock on, Madam Chair.
But I'm now calling you. There you go. Okay, the
sorry.
clock. The time. Okay,
Would
Mr.
you
Deerfield.
all mind, I have the next two items, 5 and 6.
Yeah,
And our consultant from, well, not consultant, representative Primrose doesn't have much time this evening. Would you
do
mind?
you want to switch them?
Yeah, switch New Greenwich
Okay.
Park and to Deerfield and promote Matthew Taylor. He should be,
Okay, the question, I need a motion for that, don't I?
all right, not for me.
Could I have a motion to change the order of the items in our agenda so that we can accommodate the applicant and we hear New Greenwich Park LLC first?
So moved.
Mr. Wells has moved it. Who has seconded?
Second.
Mr. Lowe has seconded it. We can do a voice vote, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and with that, Mr. Tessie, you're on. Our next discussion item is 2 Greenwich Park LLC for a pre-application review pursuant. I know I don't need to read that part. This is to put a private early education and care school for infants through kindergarten in building 2 of the Greenwich Office Park, which is at with the address of 51 Weaver Street and is 20.857 acres. And with that, and this was previously an office use. With that, Mr. Tessie, you're on.
Thank you. I believe Matthew Taylor should be.
I thought I promoted him. Let me try
don't
again. He may
I
not.
don't-
I'll try it again. All right, he's declining.
Oh,
There he comes. I think he's coming.
strange.
There he comes. Well, sometimes people don't
yeah,
notice you're promoting them.
okay.
Madam Chair, you're forgetting the clock.
Can the board hear me? I apologize.
The clock, did you say the clock?
Yeah, you're forgetting to put the clock up.
The clock.
The clock, there it is.
They really love the clock. Okay.
Time, please.
All right,
do.
go ahead, Mr.
love the
Tessie.
clock.
Do
Yes,
keep,
thank
do
thank
do
you, thank
keep
you,
an
Madam
eye on
Chair.
the clock.
Members of the commission, I am here with Mr. Taylor, who is an executive with Primrose.
Good evening.
Hello, Mr.
Thank you.
Taylor.
Thank you, Matt. And he is familiar with what the commission discussed yesterday during his staff briefing and can answer some questions. But as we all know, this is a session on a pre-application where we're getting guidance from the commission on issues. So we appreciate the comments from yesterday. The Primrose application today in terms of overall operations is similar to, most of you should recall, the Primrose application we brought, I
That's
think about
CNG.
18 months ago on Old Track Road,
Yep.
where there were traffic concerns, obviously, at that location, and also parking concerns and access concerns of the commission.
Well, we were concerned about the safety of the children. We have a new commissioner, Brooks. This was at the Equinox site, and Connecticut Natural Gas has an office there that they were closing or have closed. And the proposal was to put this early childhood daycare in that office, and the concern we had was safe drop off and pickup and the traffic, because the Equinox site gets pretty insane. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Tessie.
Right, thank you, thank you. And we agree with that. Mr. Ferrari, as you know, is the owner of the Old Track facility and also Office Park, and Primrose and Mr. Ferrari kept talking, seeing what they could do to come up with a solution for Primrose in Greenwich. And those discussions have led to a lease proposal and obviously a Planning and Zoning Commission proposal at pre-app stage here to be moved forward with a formal application for the change of use of the office, this particular office space, which is located on the first and second floors of what we call Building 2, which is at the essentially the northern part of, I would say northwestern part of Office Park. The total square footage to be leased is 16,188 square feet, primarily located on the lowest level, which is a walkout to the parking area, and partially on the second floor, where there's a couple of thousand square feet more administrative than anything else. As we indicated in our cover letter, there will be dedicated parking spaces for the pickup and drop-offs, well more than we were showing or planning, I should say, at Old Track Road. And there'll be 25 parking spaces dedicated to staff, which everyone believes, and Matt can comment, should be more than sufficient, both in terms of drop-offs and in terms of staff parking. The park itself is, at this point, 82% filled. And I was checking with the leasing manager, Christian Belilla, earlier today, and he gave me a count, and they do have pretty good records on it, of parking spaces not being used on average, and he has it in the hundreds, somewhere between 200 and 300 parking spaces at the site today that are not being utilized by tenants and their guests, are, in case of some tenants, their patients. So our goal here as we move forward is to listen to the commission members. We certainly recognize that we need, it's kind of hard to believe time goes by so quickly, but an updated parking and traffic study for the park. It's been 7 or 8 years, which is, time goes by. So we are obtaining parking and traffic studies, studying the nearby intersections, which would be Weaver Street and Valley Drive, particularly. I believe those would be the two, but we'll check with the engineering division also before we were to come back to the commission with formal application. We're aware of the questions concerning safety, which are most important, and how the site will operate. That was studied by Mr. Taylor's team. And I think the program they come up with, they're most comfortable with. They operate well over 500, I think close to 600 of these facilities throughout the country. And certainly safety is number one when it comes to dealing with, for the most part, toddlers. With that, knowing Matt's on a tight schedule, Matt, do you want to walk the commission through your daily operations?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Absolutely, John. Thank you. And members of the commission, I appreciate your time. I actually was able to juggle my schedule, so I'm good.
Oh, good.
So.
Okay, you're done, Mr. Tessie. You can leave.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you in a couple hours.
You can stick around for a little bit, John. So most of the commission had heard testimony we had for Old Track Road. I certainly understand some of those concerns. What appealed to me about this particular site is that we're in the northern part of the park. I spend a fair amount of time just observing what goes on there today at different times of the day, and there's very little traffic that migrates that way. And where we're proposing our main play area is in a parking lot now that, you know, appears to just have storage and some vehicles that don't seem to ever move. So I don't think we're going to be impacting parking there. As far as getting children to and from the school, parents come, drop their children off, attended to the inside of the school, and do the same at pickup, which is the same we would have proposed at Old Track Road. The infant and toddler playgrounds are actually going to be right adjacent to the building. We'll have access directly from the building. Will not be having to cross any drive aisles and certainly not leaving the confines of that play area or the building. The playground we're proposing that's remote is for the older age group kids. So, it's very high level, I understand, but I feel very comfortable about what we proposed here and what we're trying to do. And reading through some of the other discussion points, we do expect a fair amount of our parents to be coming from the office park as well. And that's part of the appeal to this. It's a fairly private setting, certainly compared to what we were looking at before at Old Track. So I guess I would like to get some input from the commission as to maybe concerns that they have that maybe I can hopefully address.
Go, guys, who has concerns?
Mr. Tessie,
Yes.
when were the stream ditches, the stream troughs covered over?
I saw that in the comments in the staff report. Dan, doing a little traveling. I didn't
There's no
get a
stuff.
firm answer on that. I think a number of years ago. I don't know whether a permit was obtained from wetlands or not. So I haven't really completed my research on it.
Well, it looks like at least one of them against the building was still open in 2022. Maybe the other one actually covered over a little bit more recent than that, but.
Wait, just to interrupt you, I'm sorry. So there were two?
Yes.
There are two
So
locations.
one from the property line to a point where the two parking lots connect. And then there's one that actually follows the facade of the building down to the pond. And when I drove through there today, they were both covered.
I thought because I was doing some inquiry, as I said, and I thought we were talking about the one. But maybe does it extend? Are they on the same? Are those pipes of the same brook or whatever was
Yes.
there?
Yes.
Oh, all right. I didn't know how
Okay,
far.
from the northern property line through the center of the parking lot, there was a very small connection between the two parking areas. And then it continued open to the air along the building in a stone line trenched to a small footbridge and then into the pond.
Okay. Well, I have to learn more about it.
Okay.
It is an area that I personally, I've hardly been on that area in all these years.
Mhm.
I'll find out what's going on with Mr. Ferreri's team, or what didn't go on. I don't know whether it happened in their watch or not.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that actually it was kind of
just trying to picture it too.
Okay, it was a wonderful kind of amenity to this site. The site is, probably a gem in terms of actually how the very large commercial buildings fit into the natural landscape.
It's really beautifully laid out. I have
And
to
usually,
say,
losing the open water like that is kind of a.
Oh, I was just trying to picture it because so the stream was right almost against that building number 2.
Yes, I would say that the foundation probably was part of the wall that was.
Those were the good old days, I guess. Actually, that
exactly.
was built before the Wetlands Agency existed.
Mr. Marcy, I can tell you, I've been looking at the site since right after the Old Track Road application. And the way you see it today is the way I initially saw it, for what it's worth.
Yeah, no, we know it's been a while.
Okay.
Just curious. Okay.
So we're driving through there. it seems there's only one way into and one way out of this particular location of the site, which is a little tricky. I think actually, please look at that and address that. You have 152 licensed children. That's an awful lot of cars twice a day going through the middle of the park to one location, drop off pickup, and then going out through a very, very narrow road. I think when we talk about safety, that's actually would be one of the primary things is actually to understand.
That is.
Yes, we're always worried about actually parking, bringing children in, bringing children out. But in this case, it's actually an awful lot of daily traffic, daily vehicular movements through the middle of the park.
Yep. All right.
Actually, that's actually a very good point here. Actually, right there, you have building 2. As you move towards the right, you have I think it's a generator or some kind of a compressor. From that point, all the way down through the 2 parking lots and then out this narrow road is one way.
Right. I know
so, and I think that's actually something to really consider of actually understanding, parent drop off and pick up. That's going to be a critical factor. And to us, I think it would be a critical factor about safety because there's, really only one way in and out. One other question I have, will the heating systems, the PTAC units still remain on the facades with the children in the building?
I can address that. No, they will not. They don't meet the criteria for current ASHRAE standards for.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay, so then something is going to have to be done with the louvers that are on the outside. That would be a big ARC thing.
Yeah,
because it's funny because actually I remember working on one of the buildings many years ago, and they saved the PTAC units anytime they actually got rid of any one of them for parts and things because there were so many.
Right.
Kind of a big, huge storage area filled with these leftover things.
It is an old school technology, but now we will be doing away with it.
Right.
Okay.
Also, Mr. Tessie, 25 staff in the narrative was talking about public transportation, but you're going to have parking, more than enough parking for the 25 staff.
The staff, right, that's about half of right, Matt, that's the 25 spaces. Zoll, I believe they needed, their access spaces right in the area there.
Yeah,
I that way.
Again,
but there is, I just wanted to let you know that there is a jitney bus from the train station to Office Park.
Yep.
Morning and evening.
How many staff are anticipated? 25?
Correct.
And how many spaces were you going to set aside for the staff?
Well, 20 I note that it's 24 spaces dedicated for employees and 17 spaces for drop off, which seemed like a lot, Matt, but that's.
It is. I mean, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, why we landed on 17. That might have been just an assumption, but the pickup and drop off spaces, we need no more than 10 to 12, the way our pickup and drop off is staggered. And some of the board members might remember that discussion at Old Track, but there's enough excess parking in the park that certainly if we need to park our staff remotely in the park elsewhere, we're certainly amenable to that to avoid any issues and address any safety concerns with circulation.
Good. Are you done, Mr. McRae?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Mr.
Thank
Brooks, Mr. Harris is next, followed by Mr. Yeski. Your hand came down, but I think you had questions, right? All right,
So
Mr. Harris, go ahead.
I had 2 areas I was curious about, and I don't know if, this is the venue to address these, but there's some things that I certainly want to understand more about. The first is, it does seem like this is either in, adjacent to wetlands or upland or, very close. And it looks like the playgrounds are going to probably take some trees. I'm not sure if they are or not, but I will be interested in seeing what the plan is for being sensitive to those environmental factors on the land. And then second, I know you mentioned at the outset that safety is the biggest concern, which is great, because when you're dealing with little kids, that is the biggest concern. And I'm trying to envision, obviously, the infants are going to be proximate to the school and they're going to be enclosed, but just older than infants, I'm envisioning a group of very young children trying to make it across that egress or that opening to the parking lot. And I just wonder, if your experience has been that kind of access across the road for kids of that age going to the playground,
Well said.
is going to be as safe as advertised.
Sure, Mr. Harris, I can take that. We, as you can imagine, with the amount of locations we have, we've got a lot of locations similar to this, a lot even in a more urban compact, where we have children who have to walk a couple of blocks to a public area. Obviously, they're fully supervised by their teachers. They are together. They're not allowed to go back and forth on their own. We're very comfortable that this will not be an unsafe situation. I don't want to just say that for the sake of saying it. I mean, I don't have any interest in developing something that isn't going to work from a safety standpoint. I honestly didn't see a lot of traffic coming through that area, as I said earlier, when I've been there a multitude of times. And at pick up and drop off, the children won't be using the play areas either. They'd be in the building. So if we're concerned about when the bulk of the traffic is going to be in the drop off and pickup area, children wouldn't be utilizing that play area. I don't know if that makes sense.
I don't want to take everybody else's time. I know
No,
there's
that's
other
fine.
questions.
Yeah, you can come back to it, but he's heard the concern, and we raised it yesterday as well, the concern about the safety of the little kids going up to those playgrounds. The infant one seemed fine, but they're not mobile. So,
I
Mr.
think that
Wells?
Matt, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Matt, maybe you want to fill
Well,
in
you
the
take
commission
the
in, because I
concern-
understand they're not going to be allowed to go out unaccompanied.
No, he just said that.
Right.
He told us the teachers would escort. However,
Right.
there's not much a teacher can do when a car comes zooming. And Mr. Wells is next,
Yep.
followed by Mr. Yeski.
Right, apologize, got background noise. I got two grandchildren in close proximity. When you come back, would be looking for additional information on the low impact wall and the bollards surrounding the play areas. How strong are they? What sort of speed or car, size of car, weight of car can they withstand? Same with the bollards. Just want to make sure we're 100%, 200% safe for the children in the playgrounds in case someone steps on the accelerator and not the brake as they come into park in those areas. Thank you.
So, and we have had, Mr. Taylor, we had in a store called Sophia's, which is actually their entry door was on a parking lot. People just blew right past their parking space and through her windows, and she wasn't on the street. She was on the parking lot, and somebody just went through, and it happened to her twice. Then we finally put up the bollards and that were more resistant. So Mr. Wells has an excellent point that this does happen. It sounds crazy, but it does. Anything else, Mr. Wells? All right. Ms. Jones is next.
Mr. Yeski, I have a question, or is
Oh,
he-
Mr. Yeski, his hand keeps falling down. Mr. Yeski.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, but we
Oh,
covered
I
a
can
lot.
tell you, when your hand comes up here, it thinks that you're lowering it.
okay, right.
Yeah, whatever.
We covered a lot of it. I'm assuming we're going to get a traffic update inside, outside the
Yes.
park. What I'd be really
Yes.
interested in is what they view, is this a Greenwich facility? What's your market area? Because that impacts traffic, the number of cars. You mentioned that you're hoping to get people from the park itself, which would be better at this point. So anything you can give us on the market demand within Greenwich, we would appreciate. That's it.
Yep. And go ahead, Ms. Jones.
No, I was just, I know everybody has really reiterated a lot about the safety and, even when you've got toddlers and they're crossing that street and you're looking at the bollard and stuff, but also there is a water body there. And so I think it's just something to be mindful of, because I've been sort of thinking back on other childcare or similar facilities, and I know they've got the traffic, they've got the cars, you've got those sort of regular concerns, but that is an additional concern that that I think that I just had, and I don't know. I know, so the infant playground, is that for the infants and toddlers, or is there another one on the other side? I know you said the older kids were going to cross the road to that triangular park.
Yeah, let me clarify. Correct, but the children up to 2.5 years of age would be used in the infant play area. The children 2.5 years of
CP
age.
1.0. Patrick?
The children 2.5 years and up would be used in the remote play area. If that gives you some clarity.
Right. I know you will have all sorts of fences, and because you will have them anyway, but I just think that is something to be mindful of as you proceed with your plans and whatever training.
Understood. Thank you.
Well, I mean, and as I understand, you all have 500 of these locations nationwide?
Close to 6, correct.
600. Okay. So you've dealt with 600, 550 or whatever it was, planning and zoning commissions. And I am sure they all say the same thing to you. They are all parents and grandparents, and they say, drop off, pick up, safety of the kids. And we're looking for the same thing everybody else does. Tell us about the traffic. Doesn't make sense to assume that somebody's going to take the jitney from the train station if they have an infant. The amount of stuff, Mr. Taylor, that people travel with when they have a little guy or gal.
Oh no, I understand. I don't suspect.
Don't know why Mr. Tessie brought it up, because they're not. Yeah. So we're going to ask you the same questions every other planning and zoning commission. And we said the same thing to you when you were looking at the CNG space. We want the kids to be safe. We want the drop off to work. Yeah. Yep. And if you get sued because a kid gets hurt, you go out of business. So we're rowing the same boat here.
Absolutely.
Because we know there's a need in town. We know there's demand for this. And we know people ask us to approve more. So so we've talked to you about the drop off, the pickup, access to the playgrounds. I don't know, if a car is speeding, having the teacher be accompanying the kids is, if a car just steps on it, and it's sometimes cars do drive fast. The spacing of the classrooms looks great. The size of the classrooms looks great. I assume you'll meet all the fire egress requirements. Anything else from the commission? Obviously, the concern you're going to have to talk to wetlands about, the enclosure, and also whether there are any issues in the URA. Anything else? I think I summarized. Did I get everybody's concerns? Okay.
I appreciate it. I took notes from you. Yeah, we took notes yesterday and also today.
Yep. So we'll see you. We'll see. I think we're on the same page with our concerns.
Yeah.
And that the parking be sufficient and that people not be yelling at each other. Patrick.
Mr. Tessie, just the survey that's provided in the application was from 2014, and that showed the open water course there. So
we didn't hide it, I guess. Good enough.
that might be a start date.
So 2014?
Yeah.
I think when John bought it. Okay.
And knowing Mr. McRae, he Google Earthed all the different dates available on Google Earth and couldn't determine when it was closed. Just because we know how he works. So he's trying to figure out when it got enclosed.
Okay, well,
it's enclosed. When it was or enclosed doesn't really matter. It's enclosed now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to let Mr. Taylor go, and we'll keep you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
Hi, Mr. Taylor. Thank you.
So much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Matt. Have a good evening. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, you didn't just enable him talking, did you? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I did. That was the only way to get him in.
Okay. All righty. So our next application is also with Mr. Tessie. It's a 2 Deerfield Drive for a pre-application review as well. And this is for the conversion of garage spaces and portions of the lower level office space to residential for a net add of 2 dwelling units, correct? Patrick?
No,
is-
four.
Four. For a net add of 4 dwelling
Yeah.
units to bring the total to 14 dwelling units at 2 Deerfield Drive on a 1.044 acre parcel in the R12 zone. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Tessie.
Right there, thank you. The space we're referring to is actually up on 2 levels, as you indicated. The lower level of the building, probably all familiar with it. So we have a street level, and then you drive around the back to the lower level, where there's office space occupied partially now by United Way, thanks to an approval by the commission in 2021. And then an additional space was approved for office space by the commission for a nonprofit. And that's more on a month-to-month basis and not as projected to go into the future as was thought originally. So the idea came up because also on the second level where we have Christopher Peacock, they wanted smaller space than they have. So space was taken on the street level, I'll call it street level, and the lower level to accommodate what I call a reshuffling, if you will, or changing around of the floor plans that exist now, so that it would wind up being a total of, I believe it's 14 units now, as opposed to the 10. We gave you the mix among studio 1 and 2 and 3 bedrooms before and after. The building itself, as you may all recall, was at that location was originally a commercial nursery building. It was the Andrea Nursery, and over the years, nursery use went out, and this commission granted modifications and approvals to put it into condition in terms of occupancy it is today with Christopher Peacock and the office spaces I described earlier. As I indicated in my letter, at one point there were 3 units that were 830G units in the building for 20 years. That expired. Tried to come up with some creative ways of keeping them there, working, nothing worked out. So they're now all market units in the building. So far as parking spaces availability are concerned, United Way really doesn't use many spaces, neither does Christopher Peacock. It's more of a showroom. It's not a classic retail operation. I had just today again check, and there were anywhere from 25 to 30 empty spaces between 8 o'clock and about 5:30. So that's what I understand. That's pretty typical during the day. So I don't think we're dealing with a situation where there's a parking issue, as I tried to lay out the parking in my letter. Pointed out that if you looked at the technical regulations, the uses now in the building would actually require 15 more spaces that are there today. That's inclusive of those garages to be converted. With the new uses under the regulations, whether you're using 6110 or you're using 6155, you actually come up with less, actually the same or 1 less parking space that's actually required. That's using a one, which is commission's discretion, space for every unit in a mixed unit building. But functionally and practically, given the uses, there'll be plenty of parking spaces.
So, Mr. Tessie, I think you were listening yesterday.
Yes.
6110 doesn't apply to you here because
No, I know. I was just using an equivalency. You can throw. I should have thrown it out because when I got to section 155,
Yeah, okay, so
why did I put it in? But I kept it in. But we can throw that out. Just use regular zoning.
from a zoning perspective, unless the settlement agreement allows you to expand the number of residential units here, since you're not doing affordable anymore, how would you propose that a multifamily be I mean, does the settlement allow you to add more residential, make it more multifamily in a zone where it's not permitted?
Well, the zoning world has changed since then, in a number of respects. I mean, the truth of the matter is that, we brought in the, obviously United Way, and then the other space in the basement where originally it wouldn't have counted, or would have counted. So there are different aspects. Christopher Peacock originally was
wait. I'm asking you, I think, a different question. You've got these commercial uses and you're in a residential zone. Okay. And they're going to go away. So I guess what your argument, where you're headed is.
Some are going away.
Some are going away.
Peacock's going to be there, but in less space.
Let me get out the question.
By 1,200 square feet.
So is your argument that expanding the residential uses is a lesser nonconformity than currently exists? Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah, I think it's part of the
because I don't
141 argument.
I'm not seeing, unless you're making a 6141 argument, I'm not seeing how you would expand the residential uses in this building. Am I missing something?
No, I was 6141. We're going to use in a formal application. Yes.
So our finding would have to be under this application that you are expanding, that your expansion of the residential uses is a lesser nonconformity than currently exists. So swapping out garage and office for residential makes it a lesser nonconformity than currently exists. That's going to be your argument.
Part of the argument. The other part of the argument, we have non-conforming parking on the site. And we will bring the parking into conformity under the regulations.
But you're eliminating parking.
I know, but we're limiting the amount of parking needed for the retail and the office space puts you way over. I did the analysis and
so you're making, so you're reducing the parking nonconformity by switching to residential, and therefore you're saying it is a less, what's the word on the less disturbing?
Detrimental.
Yeah.
Detrimental.
Well,
less detrimental. So you're saying residential is a less detrimental use than the garage and the office, and then you're saying, and you're reducing the parking nonconformity. Therefore, those are the two reasons that we would consider this. Okay.
In a retail use, nonconforming retail use is getting reduced, as I indicated. So we're talking about making it less nonconforming. Plus, it's a residential zone. It's a residential use, albeit multifamily.
Albeit multifamily, which is not allowed in the zone. So
I understand that. I'm just saying,
I would make it
the two. I mean, a more active retailer could go in there. Obviously, United Way could expand and have more, but no matter what, more people there. But at the end of the day, compared to uses under the regulations and compare the parking requirements under the regulations, in the logic of residential generally being considered more palatable, particularly in a residential zone, than commercial uses, adds up that we're very well within the four corners of the 6141 change of non-conforming uses.
Okay. All right, that's your argument. Any other questions?
Thanks for your help in that regard too.
Any other questions from the commission on this?
Not at this time.
Okay. I sure wish you could do affordable.
Well, we tried. Maybe in another location. We've got a few more coming up. So,
all right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to ask for public comment. Does anybody from the public wish to speak on this application? This is a 2 Deerfield Drive to add 4 dwelling units to go to a total of 14 dwelling units. 2 Deerfield Drive. Conversion of garage and office to residential. Okay, seeing no comments, I guess Mr. Ferrari is not going to comment. All right. Okay, and nothing else from the commission?
No, thank you. I would like to just make another mention here about the units, just by the very nature of them and their size and location. I think, you know, there'll be units that will, you know, deal with the diversity of dwelling unit opportunities in the town. I don't think, you're not talking about super high-end units here.
So you are
Yeah,
saying
thank
it's
you.
moderate, it would be a moderate income?
I think by the very nature of
Okay.
where we're putting some of the units, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
we'll see you when you come back. Thank you very much, Mr. Tessie.
Thank you. Have a good evening all.
I would have a motion for the approval, or I can move it. I hereby move the approval of the January 21, 2026 minutes. All of us were present.
Second.
Mr. Lowe has seconded, but I've made the motion. We'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All righty, guys, we're done.